I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6 p.m. The Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231. According to the Open Public Meetings Act, this meeting of April 17, 2025 was published in the Bergen Record and Herald News and the Our Town on April 3, 2025. In addition, a copy of this notice is and has been available to the public and is on file in the office of the municipal clerk. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A moment of silence, please. Well, thank you. All right, Mr. Giuliani, could you do a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Christina Holes. Mr. Dudia? Here. Christine Miller? Here. Adiba Vood? Here. William Coleman? Here. Mayor Judge Crivello? Here. Committeeman Chewinski?
Here.
Mr. Madsen? Here. Chairman Warren?
Here. All right, thank you. Yes, she is here.
And so Sean Smith?
No.
Debbie Kadira? Here. Robert White? Louis Mazzone? Here. And Tommy Miller. Okay.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda, we'll be swearing in the planner. Is that you, sir? Okay. Hi, how are you? And your name is? Joe Burgess. Hi, I'm Michael Warren. Nice to meet you.
So, Mr. Chairman,
yes.
We don't typically swear in our professionals
Right.
unless they're going to be testifying, and I apologize for being late. It's like L.A. around here at this time of night. I'm sorry?
You may have to testify.
All right, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Please state your name, spell your last name, and I think I know who you are, but maybe the board doesn't. Go ahead.
Burgess, I am your new planner block. Joined by the council in January. Very briefly, we represent about 42 municipalities throughout the state. I'm also a special adjudicator for quite a number of judges throughout the state on affordable housing issues. And we are working on your housing plan for affordable housing, which I would like to have placed on the agenda at your main meeting to discuss that.
They call that an annuity for planners, the affordable housing. It's been going on for decades. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. We're going to move on. There is no minutes to approve. However, I'd like to just take this moment as a chairperson to talk with the people on the dais up here about 3 items I think is important for us to discuss before we move on to bills and old business. The first is I'd like to amend the agenda. Can we do that?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to add a public portion before any old business for any matters the public would like to approach the land use board about. That doesn't have to be on the agenda. So in essence, to give the public a chance to speak to the land use board, ask questions that they may have that don't pertain to items on the agenda. So this way, the members of the public don't have to wait all night through testimony that could take quite a while for some cases, just to meet the land use board and ask them questions about possible applications or questions they have about their property. And that would be added right before old business and in today's agenda and moving forward. And that's my motion. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Thank
Any
you.
seconds?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
All right, thank you very much. So we'll add that after bills, okay? There's a few other items here. So we are a new land use board. There will be 13 of us up here at any given time. So I just want to discuss how I like to see the meeting run and some of the rules that I'll be enforcing through our conversations. Number 1 is we can't have more than one person speaking at a time. One, it's very difficult for the minutes to be translated, and we lose a lot of context in conversation if we're trying to overspeak other people on the dais or from members of the public. So all questions or all comments or all opinions, please signal to the chairperson either by saying, Mr. Warren, Mr. Chairperson, Mr. Chairman, signal me down so that we can make sure the conversation flows, because we have 13 people up here who are going to want to share their comments, questions, and I'd like to keep the meeting moving and have the meeting make sense when it gets translated into the minutes for our professionals here who have to do that job. As far as members of the public, last meeting I was asked about a potential speaking limit time. I'm not a fan of those in particular. However, I believe a case-by-case basis, and I'd like to make that time limit 5 minutes if we have a very busy night ahead of us. And also, just to make sure that the questions and comments from the public do pertain to the actual applications that we're seeing before the board, and don't meander off into other, topics. But again, those are for our busy nights. Typically, we have this many people arrive, and we're more than happy to answer your questions and listen to your comments. So I think that's a sensible amount of time, especially on busy nights. And again, we could play that by ear as we move forward. So I just want to kind of set those parameters. Before I move on to my next topic, questions or comments about those sets of rules moving forward?
Yeah, Mike.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion as well for our meetings.
Can you hang on to that motion till my end of my rules and regs? I promise we'll get to you. Thank you. Next up, in your packet, near the very bottom, is a letter from Boswell Engineering. I'd like to point this letter out to the members of the dais and explain why we have this letter from an engineering firm that this land use board has not selected as a backup engineer or our primary engineer. This past Monday, I woke up to a series of about 20 emails on a chain, first started by the township administrator, sending an email to the construction official. I guess the context of the email was alerting him about this board's decision to not have an engineer come tonight for one of our clients, because the land use board would like to discuss first who to select as their backup engineer. Through this series of emails, it came upon me to make a decision about having an engineer appear here tonight that this board did not select. I'm not a fan of being put in that position at all. So the compromise was to have a letter from Boswell, who was the engineer in the January hearing for 53 Central Ave. They are not appearing here tonight because this land use board must discuss tonight who they would like to see as their backup engineer. I'm not going to make that decision, and I don't think anybody else should be making that decision for the land use board. You can read the letter from Boswell if you'd like, or you don't have to read it. It's up to you. But that's why it appears in your packet tonight. So I discussed that briefly with the township administrator and the attorney as well as to why this board did not want to have an engineer appear yet tonight. The land use board wants to hear the application from 53 Central Ave, but we have not selected a backup engineer yet, and that's why there is none here tonight. My last item on my little chairperson speech here, I promise it won't be every week, or every month. There is another email on the top of your packet that says board application procedure. 24 hours after this email chain about Boswell and their letter, I was sent an email from the township administrator, courtesy of the construction official, on how this land use board should and must conduct all application processes. If you read the email, there's a 10-step process. If you read the whole email, you can see the language. This must be followed. And again, the land use board being dictated to without a discussion on how this land use board cares to see the applications that come forward to them. So before moving forward with anything else, motions, etc., would anyone like to ask questions, discuss, comment on these two emails and how they got here from the dais?
If I may,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman. With all due respect to Mr. DiMaria, and he's obviously extremely knowledgeable, the board decides how they're going to handle applications, and there isn't any jurisdiction from anyone to tell the board, other than what's in the land use law or in the ordinances, how to handle an application. Having said that, this is not out of the ordinary, not unreasonable. But if the board were to decide to move in one direction versus another, that's their authority, not the building department's authority.
Mr. Mondello, is it the board's authority to hear applications without a professional here if they so desire?
Oh, of course.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
that is routine in some of the municipalities I represent, where it's just a homeowner and they have a very simple application. Why would you want to cause this resident, this homeowner, $5,000 perhaps in escrow payments when it's a slight modification to a patio? So, but that's in the board's discretion, of course.
Anyone else on the dais with questions, comments, thoughts that they would like to share?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I think these 10 guidelines kind of help the board a bit. What I like to see is our packets 10 days ahead of time. They used to mail them out. I don't know if there's anything, where they can mail them out so we can review these for 10 days and do our research. But as far as this letter, we're autonomous. We don't answer to anyone other than ourselves.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Coleman. Anyone else up here would like to comment? Thoughts, questions? Yes, Ms. Muller.
I think, the stuff from the zoning official, it's not too bad, but it should coordinate with the actual, land use code, 185. See, there's a problem because we're a land use, we're not a planning board or a zoning board, so they even contradict each other. So we've got to come together with some timing on, how many days ahead. But like Mr. Coleman, I do not want to get stuff today, whether it's from the planner today, this morning. I mean, everybody works here. You want to do it responsibly to read it.
Yes.
And when you're getting it that morning, when you should have had it at least 2 weeks ahead of time, or however many days we decide. But also, too, in here, it does say, copies of the application, maps, blah, 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 shall be served upon the planning board attorney and planning board engineer. In addition, if requested by the board secretary, to the board's planner. So that's written in this code here. So you've got to decide. I mean, I understand you don't get an engineer on something goofy.
Mm-hmm.
But this oil tank, I think we should have an engineer at some point.
We're going to discuss that tonight. Yes. So I appreciate those comments. Mr. Giuliano, for, receiving items 10 days prior, I know you're here in the office for people to come pick up stuff. You did email us to say you have some stuff available for us here. You did email some plans tonight, some tech specs here, but is 10 days enough time for you?
Yeah, absolutely. If that is what the board decides, that they want everything 10 days before, if they want it 14 days before, whatever is decided upon by the board, I will make sure that all board members, usually I email it. If they want a hard copy, I will let them know that there are hard copies in the office when I have them, so that way if they want to come pick them up, we can do that as well. I was not familiar with previous being mailed, but if that is something that if that's an option, it's whatever works best for the board. Whatever they want, I will make sure gets done.
So I'm of the mindset of a digital copy, and if people want to stop in the office to pick up physical copies, I haven't seen anyone get mailed anything since COVID, to be honest with you. But if getting here is an issue, I think letting the chairperson know, and we can arrange some way for you to get a physical copy
Absolutely.
of any,
Yeah, absolutely. If I have, and whatever, no matter what time it is, as long as somebody lets me know, if they need to come after hours, if somebody's working, I could absolutely stay to make sure that they have the opportunity to come pick up whatever is needed.
Anyone else with comments or?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chwinsky.
Just, who did ask for the planner and the engineer to weigh in on this application if it wasn't us?
That's a great question.
Looks like you got an answer. Looks like he has an answer.
Oh, yes.
I received in the email last week from the administrator, asked me to weigh in on it. And that's why I will apologize for, I typically do not send stuff in. So we received the request last week.
I didn't think you would do that, and I hope you wouldn't do
No,
that, but if you didn't get it, there's nothing you can do. And my whole thing is you need to get it. That starts there, you need to get it.
That I understand. And I think that ties in nicely with what you were just saying in terms of the timing of when applicants have to submit and when they get on an agenda. Because if they're only required to submit 10 days in advance of a hearing, and then it's mailed to me and I get it 7 days, and there's a weekend involved, so all of a sudden I've got 4 days to turn something around and get it to you, and that would be a day or two before the meeting, which is not good. Many of our municipalities throughout the state will require 21 days before a hearing date.
Bergenfield's 30.
And that would help, not just my office, but the attorneys and the engineers' offices.
Yeah, in fact, Bergenfield requires 30.
Well, this code says 25 days before the date of the meeting, but it goes,
And that would be fine. That would be fine if it is.
So I think, first of all, we need to establish, first of all, do we have enough time to review a professional planner's letter that came today and an engineer's report that came, that, are we going to accept that, and are we going to review it, are we going to table it, what do you want to do with it until we have a chance to look at it? We happen to have the planner here, but that's up to the board.
So, Ms. Rondello, for
Yeah,
tonight.
You always want to hear an applicant when they are here. You can always carry
It's
and
not
say,
here the application, I just meant the professionals, we didn't have a chance to look at our professional's opinion on it.
he's here, he's sitting here, you hear from him, you read the letter. If you need to bring a live body in, whoever drafted that letter, apparently Boswell, you bring them in. You don't have to vote until the board is satisfied that they have all the information and all the questions that they may have are answered.
So tonight we'll hear, and if Mr. Burgess is here and the board would like to ask questions of Mr. Burgess, he is sworn in. But we can carry over any applicant if we'd like more information or to have Boswell appear, if that's the board's wishes. I'm not a fan of how this all happened tonight. I think my sentiment is very clear up here of this kind of got in the way of this board making decisions autonomously, but this is the hand we've been dealt right now. Mr. Burgess thankfully is here. He seems like a nice guy. Let's listen to the applications. And
So I would say, in my opinion, this would be, again, it's up to the rest of the board, but I would say we should definitely hear the application. It's not their fault, they're the applicant. But as far as the professionals go, Mr. Burgess is here.
mhm.
And he's gonna be our planner, so we'll take advantage of having him here. But other than that, the engineering report and that. I'm not gonna read it now.
You don't, I had it printed out, this way it was available. If people wanted to read it, they don't have to, because Boswell is not our backup engineer. So that's up to the board. I'm going to move forward if there's no other comments to this particular situation. Mr. Mondello, I did get a request tonight for, can we go into closed session as a plant land use board if we wanted to or no?
On what? What's the reason?
Client attorney privileges.
But for what?
For
433.
Rochelle Ave.
Yes.
Okay. So, I'd like to motion to have a closed session before we hear that applicant. Can we do that?
We can do it before you do it, yes.
Okay.
You still want to hit,
I'm still there. Yeah, I'm still getting there. I know, I'm getting there. I see that. Okay, so before we get into the 433 Rochelle Ave, I'll make a motion for a closed session, okay? Last but not least, there is for new members, there is Michael, tell them about the planning book.
Yes. I don't-
The land use course for new members is virtual now. Lucky you guys. There's one happening next week or in May and June. If you did take the course already, you don't have to take it. Your certificate lasts forever. But if you are new, you must take the course within 18 months. And Michael has the book for new members. Just please take one before you leave, and it's free, correct?
As far as I'm concerned, he just said all classes are virtual, you'll need
Okay.
access to a computer, and there are dates that are available.
Great. So if you're new, please take one before you head out. Any other business before the board, before we move on to the next thing? Yes, sir.
For the benefit of all the members on the board, I think that we should have a copy of the Coxon land use book.
Okay.
I think it should be provided to us by the township.
It's right there.
well, you're suggesting everyone get one. I think it's up to $100, dude. I mean, I've never seen a town supply, but, I mean, hey. Yeah, I think it's 140, 60.
Do they have it available digitally?
I know
You
that.
have to buy the book, and then they'll make it
Give it a
available
PDF,
digitally for another chunk of change.
Would that be something the land use board can vote to purchase, or the township committee would have to vote to purchase?
You
that?
could vote to purchase it, and the township committee will have to figure out where the money is.
It would have to come out of the township,
Okay.
and if they have that.
Mr. Chwinsky, if you're interested in making a motion to purchase the book, it'll go before the township committee anyway, so,
A lot of money.
Michael,
yes,
what book is that?
this book.
No, this book, but what book?
It's a heavy one.
I mean, would it,
Mr. Chairman,
somebody gonna, who up here is gonna read this? I'm being serious.
Me? I take it to bed every night.
I know the board should also look at the, municipal land use. It's 185 starting like -2. That's online.
That's the
Okay.
zoning,
That's the zoning.
Rochelle Park zoning.
Right, but that's what I mean, that's important, because that has all this in it, but that's.
Agreed.
Okay, so,
You can- well,
yes.
First off, if you go online, you can't find it because it's hidden under email and telephone numbers. That's where it is, that's where it's up.
I have the solution for you. Mr. Giuliano, can you get this link and email every member the link for that 185-2?
Absolutely.
So members can start,
That's where it starts.
yes. Can you get that link for all members and email that to everyone for me?
Of course.
You're the best. Thank you so much. At least we could get that out.
But then
the-
you know parking regular, you know everything.
Yes.
You know, this,
Yes, Mr. Coleman.
we were issued this years ago, which is a complete book, and it really defines our ordinances pretty well. I know if you go online, everything isn't really listed in the subsections and everything else. If you want, I can leave this with you, you can look through it, but the town gave us all one of these books, and it has everything in detail.
Yeah, I have one there. Yeah,
Okay.
That's what I was talking about.
That's the one she was talking
Okay, so
The 185 is,
Great.
that's what she's talking about, that we have a link to a digital version, right? Okay. Mr. Coleman, if you'd like to leave that, that's up to you. I'd like to give everyone at least the link so that they could start to look at it at their free time. And then, Mr. Chwinsky, again, you can make a motion to have everyone get a copy of this book. You'll need a second, a vote, and then obviously the township committee will be.
Teresa said she's gonna buy them for everybody.
Yeah, right.
So where are we at with this?
what was nice though, rather than looking online.
Do we have that anymore?
None of you.
Right, but do we have that anymore is my question.
I took this one, Collinsville, from you.
Yeah, so, if we can talk to Dean and see if we have any more copies of
I
this.
absolutely can do that. I can see if we do have any more copies.
Yes, Mayor. hold on, guys.
If I make a suggestion, if Mr. Coleman leaves that, Michael, is there a way you can make copies of it for everybody to have?
Yeah, I
And then
mean,
they can, I see there's a cover, right? Just I wrote it or something.
Thank you.
And then maybe that would help a little bit, or
There's the newer version online. That
there's a newer
link,
version online?
the link that,
Muller's talking about. Okay.
Whatever you have, maybe.
What's your date on your?
All right, guys, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get the updated link for everyone to look at. In the meantime, if Mr. Giuliano has the time to print off a book, you're going to print off the book, if you have time.
if that's what is requested, then that's what I will
Yes.
do.
Okay. We're not going to purchase any books, but Mr. Coleman, we're going to take your copy or your copy, whichever is the latest.
What,
And how old is yours, Mr. Coleman? 2004?
About 20
Yeah.
years.
I feel like things probably have changed. Okay, so we're going to get the link. Okay, thank you so much. Now, if there's any other business before we move on?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Andrew Mattson.
I'd like to make a motion that the Township of Rochelle Park Land Use Board, we record all our meetings, regular and special meetings, and using our existing audio and visual technology available. And I propose that these recordings should be uploaded promptly onto our township. I know we have a YouTube that we use. And this way, people that can't make it out to every meeting, they'll be able to see. And even like just some of the emails we got, we were given like an AI transcript of what happened. I think it would be great if we had used our technology and then you could just go back to that meeting and watch what happened.
Essentially, Mr. Mattson's motion is to film using the existing technology that would be uploaded to YouTube, our audio and video of these meetings and all special meetings. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, do we do a roll call?
Absolutely. Ruben Julia,
Yes.
Christine Muller,
Yes.
Adiba Boone,
Yes.
William Coleman,
Yes.
Mayor George Crivello,
yes.
Committeeman Truinsky,
Yes.
Andrew Mattson,
Yes.
Chairman Warren,
Yes.
and Debbie Kadira, and Lou Mazzone.
Yes.
We're good to go. Thank you so much. And that leads us to the bills portion.
My favorite part.
Okay, yes, Mr. Mondell.
I have two bills here. They are escrow payments. Park 433 Supply LLC, April 8th, 2025 review meeting, had to listen to the meeting. January 23rd, 2025, some legal research draft a memo. That bill is for $495. Hold on a second. There is a second bill, escrow again. And if those of you who don't understand what escrow is, that is a deposit made by the applicant. So the township, or I should say the residents, are not footing the bill for this. There is a second bill dated April 1st, 2nd, and 3rd regarding RP Urban Renewal Research and Review Minutes of October 26th, 2023. I had to listen to the meeting of January 23, 2025, create the AI transcript that you have, review the resolution granting that extension, legal research, specifically NJSA 40:55D-2, draft a memo to the board. There were telephone conferences from the applicant's counsel members, and town staff. That bill is $990. And then finally, I have not submitted a bill for this evening's attendance. Why? Because I am not sure how long an applicant is going to take this evening. You may recall that I subtract from the $500 attendance the amount of time that an applicant spends. It comes out of their escrow. In other words, if they spend X amount of hours and it comes out to $250, the $250 would come out of the $500, leaving $250 to come from the municipal budget. Understood? All right, so I would need a motion followed by a second.
Make a motion? I'll second it. Want to do all those in favor? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any noes? Abstentions? Okay. Thank you very much. So before we go to old business, we did add tonight a public portion. This portion is for any member of the public who'd like to approach the Land Use Board on any topic that they would like to ask us a question about. That doesn't necessarily have to be on the agenda. So if you're a resident who has a question about something you want to know about land use, or something about your property, or how to file an application, the land use board is available for you at this time, so I can make a motion to open to the public.
Second.
Okay, second, thank you. All those in favor? Aye. Any noes? Abstentions? Okay. Any members of the public with any questions at all, you please approach the mic and just state your name and address and for the record.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi, Edward Garfield, 25 Steam, Rochelle Park, of course.
Okay.
A little confused over this land use, construction, and whatever. I went to the building department to ask about if I can do something. They told me to fill out a form and send the zoning board $75, which doesn't exist anymore, so. I have a question. Who can answer my question? All right.
We are going to do the best we can.
Okay.
We have great people up here.
According to Bergen County, you can have a gravel driveway. I want to extend my driveway laterally 10 feet by 18 feet.
All right, I'm sorry. That is going to be an issue that you must discuss with the building department. They will figure out
They
whether or
sent
not,
me, all right,
whether or not you need a variance. If you do, it will come back before this board. This board is now essentially the planning board on steroids. We have combined power.
Yeah.
We have all of the zoning board power plus all of the planning board power. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I thought that's where you were going, and perhaps I'm mistaken.
so to get an answer, I got to fill out a form and pay money.
Exactly.
Well, can you just finish your thought with where you were going so we can see first?
I just want to know if it could be done. If it can't be done, I won't fill out the form, but you can make me pay to ask a question?
Could I help with this?
Sure thing, Mr. Burgess.
Do you have a property survey? Or if you use it, you do. On that property survey, someone could calculate how much building and impervious covered paving you have on the property. The ordinance limits you to a certain percentage. So the question would be, are you exceeding what's permitted? If you're not, you could just file plans and do your thing. But if you need a variance, then you're going to have to make an application to this board.
All right. When I filed I put a driveway in a few years ago. This was part of it. I just didn't put it in because of money. Now I want to just continue.
So, so your name is Edwin, yes, correct? So you have an existing gravel driveway, or you want to
No,
add?
no, I want to add-
an addition, make the whole thing gravel?
No, it's blacktop.
Gotcha. So
I want to add, because it's cheaper, I want to add gravel.
Okay.
According to Bergen County, you can put in gravel driveway.
Yes, Bing?
I believe that, I think you'd have to speak again, as our attorney said, you'd have to speak with the building area, but I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, right now it is 18 feet wide is what we have here in town. Is that we were talking about that at the last meeting when we had in January about somebody else wanting to extend the driveway. You can look it up. We have
Yeah.
codes.
Well, the driveway will be 18 feet.
Okay, so you want to do what with the 18 feet? You want to put gravel? Is that-
Well, right now, it's 10 feet. I'm saying 10 feet. It will be 10 feet at the top, but at the curb, it will be 18 feet.
I'm sorry. So as Mr. Burgess has suggested, maybe you have a friend who's an engineer and won't charge you $75, but he's going to have to look at the survey and determine whether or not you have exceeded a certain impervious coverage. That's what the building department's trying to do for you for $75. But if you got a friend,
No, but that was already determined when I filed the last
Hang
permit.
on. Mr. Trinsky? Hang on. Mr. Trinsky?
I understand the point, but, a call to the zoning officer and asking him for a meeting perhaps to come in and meet with your survey might stave off an application before you're considering putting an application in. If I can help. And also, as far as I know, gravel is impervious. It's not impervious material, right?
depends, right? If it's super crushed and packed down, we got a problem.
All right, water, yeah, okay. But in any case, I would think that, a phone call to the zoning officer, who is our construction official, and tell him the application, before you submit an application, you'd like to come in and just meet with him over with your survey, mark it up, and bring it in with them informally and just see if you're on the right track.
That's what I'm asking. So who's the person I talk to?
It would be zoning official.
Is that Mr. Di Maria?
Yeah.
Mr. Di Maria, who's in the building department. When you went to the building department, you spoke to
The secretary, the lady.
Yeah, okay. So if you want to return to the building department to make an appointment to possibly see Mr. Di Maria, he may or may not be able to see you, but, you know, at least you could say to him, here's my survey, do I need to file a variance, which would be the application to come before here to tell us why you'd like to expand your driveway. Mr. Masson, you said you wanted to add something.
I think he's saying he already did that, and he had gotten the variance, but he didn't finish that part of the job because of money reasons. And now he's looking to go finish that however many feet
Correct.
of widening.
Yeah.
How much wider do you want to make it?
He wants to go to 18 feet, and you're at 10 feet now?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, 18576 stipulates 18 feet in length, and you can go 20 feet wide. So you might want to ask the building inspector if that would apply to you.
All right, so back to the building department, just to ask the
Well,
question.
just refer to 18576. Number 5, it's a one-car garage or a two-car,
Yeah.
but you can go 20 feet by 18 feet in length.
Just to understand, we're not giving you legal advice.
Yeah,
We're prevented from doing
No,
that.
it's-
They're trying to point you in the right direction.
That's what I came here for. All right, thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Any other member of the public? Hello.
Hello, board. Yeah, my name's Alex Bruhan. I'm here from Park 433 over here, the gas station on the corner. We've been trying to get our, gas station garage up and running, so we're able to rent it out to one of our tenants.
Yes, you're on the agenda tonight.
Oh, we're on the agenda?
Yes, you are. So when we come to that portion, that's when it'll be
All right, sounds
your
good.
time, all right?
Just wanted
Thank
to
you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else for any non-agenda items?
Good evening, Board.
Hello.
Bob Verhassel, 40 Forest Place, and this does sort of go towards agenda items. The three things that are listed here, 21022, 433, and 12 Lexington, are those memorializations, or is that an ongoing discussion? Because they're all different.
Yes, they are all different.
Yes.
So, 210 to 212 is a discussion?
Bob doesn't miss a point.
I know he doesn't.
The only thing that is a memorialization of a resolution is 12 Lexington Avenue.
Right.
I was going to say that, Bob.
Of course you were.
And you were there.
I have put together attorney-client privilege memos on the other two, and the board will decide what they want to do.
Yeah. I know it's a new thing for everybody, but the old way of calling it a memorialization and separating it from the second page would be better than what's here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Separate section for resolutions.
Absolutely.
Just a quick shout out to my homies. Thank you for the proposal for recording and posting. That'll be great. And Mr. Mondello, your explanation of the billing procedure was in-depth, and I should answer everybody's questions about how it works, because he explained this once about 4 years ago for one of the other boards, and it was really helpful to try to figure out how the bills come in, but thank you.
Thank you.
He's required to do it once every 4 years, Bob, so. Any other member of the public before we move forward?
So out of nowhere.
Dave King, Madison Avenue Park. Well, I think you're having a real fun time with your starting up issues. Good luck on all of that. And I mean that.
Okay.
You're all doing your best and you're working through it. And that's
Thank
good.
you.
I had two things in mind though. One thing is GIS. I think I mentioned it once before. That's Government Intrusion System, not a geological information system or whatever it is. And it's the reason why when we get our tax cards now, we discover that we live on a different block number, and we have a different lot number than we've had for all these years, and that shows up on our title. Did you ever look at your card when you got it?
Yes.
You were surprised, right? What the heck is this? And the reason I mention that is because when cases come through, they're usually,
I'm listening.
if you digest all that.
Mr. Giuliano actually can speak to some of your GIS issues,
Well,
like right now.
yeah,
So just in regards to that, I know that the assessor's system is ahead of the tax collector system. So when you look at like your tax bills for the second quarter coming up, it'll still have your old block and lot, while now the new mapping, because all the maps were redone, they're gonna reflect, plus your tax cards that you got in the mail, are gonna reflect your new block and lot. So it's just because one system is ahead of the other, starting in the third quarter with like your billing for the tax bills and everything, those will then be reflected upon your new block and lots. So it's just a matter of one system being slightly ahead of the other one.
don't worry, I'll pay my bill.
No.
But the new system is way ahead of my deed.
Okay. And Mr. Kingman, what was your second item that you wanted to discuss?
Oh, it was all about GIS.
Oh, okay.
For the most part. There's a second item that's on that book you were discussing before. It's very brief.
Okay.
But also, when you have this, what did you call that? The Lexington Ave. You had block whatever it is, lot in address 12 Lexington Ave or whatever. And actually it composed of 4 25-foot wide lots by whatever depth it was, okay? Now that's just one lot. So when it gets subdivided, it's going to be out of sequence again. I don't know.
That's up to the tax assessor. They will figure out and what those numbers will be and tell the applicant what the numbers will be.
Okay, but I'm just saying, and I don't need an answer tonight, but get some thought how all this works with, the land use rules and everything and the case numbers and that sort of thing. I hope it doesn't cause you trouble. But also, when you go to the GIS, as it stands right now, there's a part in there that doesn't cost you any money, but you have to really know where to look. It can tell you how much impervious coverage you have on your lot right now. I was surprised to see that. It's interesting. But in any case, the other thing I wanted to mention, if I could.
Mr. Kingman, this is the third item now, and I'm just letting you know, we do have a 5-minute time limit.
Okay.
If you withdraw the third one, grab a donut. I used to love when it was powder, and you'd have all this white powder up here. I didn't know what was going on, but.
I might take you up on that. The other one was the book that you were talking about. Before you go making loads of copies of it, I would like to really see 2 particular pages. One is the page that has the permitted use and the conditional uses and the footnotes where to look for the conditions. And then once I see the footnote for that condition, I want to see that page that has that condition, to see if it has that same darned typographical error that was in it years ago and finally corrected.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kingman. Mr. Mondello, you're tasked to get on all of that. Good job.
How can I get a look at that book? Come by tomorrow? Or?
You could buy it tonight if you want to go on Amazon.
Yeah, I'll take it in and put it right back when I'm done, if you don't mind.
No problem. Go ahead, Dave.
You can approach and take
But
the
now you
book.
lost your donut. You get one or the other. I'm sorry.
Tough decision.
We do need it back.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Any other member of the public about any topic that's not on the agenda? Seeing none, can I get a motion to close the public? I'll make a motion. Second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. All right, moving on to old business. Mr. Mondello, do you want to take the lead on these items here? First up is 210-222 Rochelle Avenue, Banks Diner project.
All right, yeah, so with respect to the bank/diner project, I did spend, quite frankly, enter your appearance into the record, Mr. Rosenberg.
Thank
I
you so
forgot that you
much.
got subbed in somehow.
Yes, for the record, Bruce Rosenberg of Winnie Bant of Israeli and Khan. I am new counsel for the applicant RP Urban Renewal LLC. Thank you very much, Mr. Mondella.
Yeah, be seated.
Thank you.
So I did speak to Mr. Rosenberg, and I indicated to him that I did provide quite a lengthy memo, and of course, as a good attorney, he asked me for it, and I said no. It's an attorney-client privileged memo. It speaks for itself, and I don't know if any of the board members, have any specific questions, but I certainly laid out everything. So it is now incumbent upon this board to make a decision. Are you going to grant, another extension for this board? Are you not going to grant an extension? I certainly will give Mr. Rosenberg an opportunity to make what would be a third pitch, prior attorneys asking for this extension. But I'm hoping and praying, I know how busy the board members are, but if you read this memo, in your mind, you will know or should know which way you want to go.
So at this point in time, I'd like to first hear from members of the board before we perhaps speak to Mr. Rosenberg.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So anyone on the dais, a question, comment, thought, observation?
I do.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes, Ms. Speller, thank you.
I actually read everything,
Thank you.
as I do. And it seems that, according to your information, we can grant an extension because of delays in getting the redevelopment agreement. Now, why do we not have a redevelopment agreement?
The $10,000 question, Mr. Rosenberg.
Who writes this? And why wasn't it written in the last 5 years? And who is the redevelopment attorney that's supposed to be doing this? And, well, that's my first question. So why isn't there I know you had COVID, and then you had blah, blah, but within the last year, from 2023 to 2024, why wasn't a redevelopment?
So I'm going to let Mr. Rosenberg handle it, but I'll chime in. I mean,
Okay.
from my experience, it could be the governing body, the township, I'm just speaking broadly.
Right.
It could be the developer, that they wanted A, and then they decided they wanted D, and the council wasn't too happy with D. It could be a myriad of things. I'm not so sure that that's the case with this particular developer, that he asked, that the development agreement asked for A and he wanted D. I think that's another developer, another issue. But I will now hand it off to you, Mr. Rosenberg, to answer I think it's $60,000 question, but with inflation, we'll call it 100, as to what's going on with this delay. Does your client have a developer's agreement? Have they signed the redevelopment agreement, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes, Mr. Mondella, thank you so much. And the answer is absolutely. The redevelopment agreement was signed in July. And I said I'm new counsel. And so the developer has chosen me to try to keep moving this project along. And I would just note, and the mayor is here, and I think maybe she too might have some insights into why the municipality also has a new redevelopment attorney for the municipality. I can't speak to that issue. But all I can say is that certainly, sometimes things do happen and delays do occur. And I don't think it's because people were acting in bad faith. I just think that sometimes there are delays. And that was the case here for myriad of reasons.
I know it's already been 4.5 months since November.
Yes, and that
And what have you been doing?
is eclipsed.
It what?
It's eclipsed. So if you're kind enough to grant the extension, that time has been burned, and the redeveloper is well aware of that. And we are well aware of that.
So
That if you grant another 1 year, that's the way the law works.
what do you plan on doing?
We're going to move forward to get the project redeveloped and get the demo permits as well.
So you're
from
not
the
waiting,
municipality.
you're not waiting for the economy and inflation and tariffs and interest rates?
That's why you're right on target. We need the extension because we need to show the lenders that we have that, approval remaining in place with the extension from the board. I don't want to get into the issue that Mr. Mondella is very aware of, which is whether or not something expires, it doesn't expire. It's going to make it very difficult in this challenging environment. And the environment is challenging, you're absolutely right.
And just so the board understands, the site plan that was approved, that doesn't expire. It could if there was a section in the ordinance that says it expires as variances do, but it's not in the code. So the site plan exists. What you are basically granting is you are protecting them from making any zoning changes to that area. That's essentially it.
Okay, I still have another question, because this was in your information that you gave. In the resolution extending your, the urban renewal, one line said, the plans will now eliminate the bank. I was not a part of the planning board during the renewal. I was a part of the planning board for the original approval. And actually on the site, I don't even know if you have access to this, on the site plans, all right, but it did say there was 2 spaces for the bank, right? One at the corner of, I have the plans.
Yeah.
One for the corner on Central Avenue and Rochelle, and one in the back. Now, the back had a drive-through for the bank and a canopy over that. Now, my only thought is if you're getting rid of the one in the back, that has to do with a drive-through and a canopy, and that would change the plans. So I just want to know if you would be able to clarify that at some point of what, you're changing, they would be changing the plans. I mean, I wouldn't bring it up, but you wrote the memo, and there was just one line in there that said, we're doing away with the bank. So.
I have never seen the plans.
Yeah, no, that's not my understanding.
My job was to dive into whether or not
I got 58 square feet of retail bank space. 30 residential dwellings, 5 of which units are set aside, associated improvements,
Well, like I said, the resolution extending the urban renewal from 1123, page 2, number 1B, says plans will now eliminate the bank in the subject property. So my only thought was, the bank had a drive-through and a canopy, so that would change the plans somewhat. And I just, somebody should look into that. That was my only thought.
So I guess to that point, which is a pretty good one, if the site plan has materially changed, don't you have to come back?
Yeah, we would. I'll have to follow up.
I just don't know. I've never looked at the plans. I mean,
neither have I.
My sole goal was to figure out whether the board had authority to give you another extension.
I think they do.
Yeah, I'm positive they do.
Well, just my last point was, again, Mr. Mondello states that there was no mention in any of the minutes or resolution for the extension for our resident, Mr. Valenzuela, for Hassel's recollection of the Bank China property looking like a dump and the developer promising to clean it up. There's no mention of that anywhere. I was just wondering if at that time we could make that a condition of an extension if we approve it to just take care of that property better.
Yes, the owner redeveloper has absolutely no objection to that whatsoever as any condition. I will tell you, I visited the site many times. And I know all of you also drive by it all the time. We're happy to have that condition. I don't think it's a dump, but that's just my own opinion. But yes, we have no objection whatsoever to putting that as any condition of any extension, to make sure it's maintained properly as well going forward for the next several months.
Mr. Trinsky, I just want to understand correctly. The last extension was a third extension?
This will be number 3 if you're so inclined to grant it. The last one was number 2.
And that expired?
It did.
So what gives us the authority to go backwards and retroactively renew something?
You can. You can. It's not renewing. You are giving another extension. And the extension, my understanding, should be from the last
That is
one that
correct.
expired,
That's-
which may be 9 months ago.
Yes.
I gotta look again.
November.
November.
Of 2024. Yes, Mr. Chewinski, the law does allow for you to grant the extension, but it relates back
Yeah.
to
You
the
can't do it
expiration
tonight.
of the prior extension.
So in other words, you couldn't do it from April 17th.
Correct. You could
It'd
not.
have to be from November
November.
2024.
That is correct. The extension would only run until November of this year.
I only know from my own business, when I have to file extensions on my own property. When they expire, they expire. I've never had the opportunity to go before a board and have them retroactively resurrect something that was expired.
If
That's
it was
my
a
experience.
variance, it would.
I haven't had that experience, and that's why I'm having a concern about that now, and I'm confused on that. If you could show me
Read that
the,
again.
oh, that's, okay. That's all I have, thank you.
Matt, I don't mean any disrespect. I spent an inordinate amount of time on this, in my opinion, and I'm very comfortable saying that there is authority within this board to grant the last exception. I also listened to everything I can get my hands on. Nowhere in the record does it say, if you come back for a third extension, you need to start from ground zero. Nowhere in the record, and maybe the minutes were not accurate, does it have Bob saying, listen, as a condition, I want this place cleaned up. I can't find anything like that. I have no axe to grind. It's up to the board. If you can deny it, you can grant it.
Anyone else with comments, questions before I have some? Yes.
So this is retroactive, it goes back to
Correct.
November, huh?
Has
So
to be
when does that expire?
November.
November 2025.
So he could come back a year from now and we'll do the same thing?
He's done.
No, I think the last one.
Right.
The law permits 3.
That's why I just want to clarify. So this has to be done by this November?
Correct.
He can get a shovel in the ground
Yeah,
next month.
that's correct.
And he's good to go.
If nothing transpires and this, till next November, we kill the variance and everything, right?
Well, the site plan exists.
Correct.
It's perpetual, unless, of course, the property is sold and the new owner goes bankrupt or whatever the case may be. But that site plan is good, unless, of course, the governing body at some point decides to change the ordinance and put a time period on the expiration of site plans. No such thing exists in your ordinance. But as you pointed out last time, and so did Matt, there is one for variances. 1 year.
Correct.
What's
All
the
right,
board's
so I have one more thing. We now have a shade tree commission in this town. Can we make that a condition that they must go before the shade tree commission?
Are we sure they haven't?
We did. We just started this last month. And get to the chairperson is.
We have no objection to making
Okay.
that a condition of any extension, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else? Questions? Thoughts, Cupid? Looks like you're ruminating anything?
No, all I'm saying is if it's gonna sit like that and we're gonna keep on, might as well give them one more chance with all the conditions that the board members have, and then let's see what happens. Give them another chance.
Before this board decides, I'd like to have the public weigh in if the board is okay with that, just to can I have to make a motion to do that?
No, you could just open it up to the public.
Okay. So anyone from the public would like to ask a question about this particular case? Mr. Verhassel, yes? Or comment?
Just as far as what you were looking for to find something where I call this place a dump. I call it a dump again. But on 10/27/22, which was at a request for the first extension, your minutes report, Robert Hassel, Forest Place, stated his concern about the year extension. He also stated his concern on the maintenance that's needed on the property. So
We don't have that.
10/27/2022.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Mr. Rosenberg, I guess this is the part where I get to question you. Mr. Mondello, is that fair?
Mr. Rosenberg can handle any questions, but he's already indicated that he's going to make sure his client cleans up.
He testified that it's not a dump. Have you gone over there and seen where people are stealing siding off the buildings?
No, I didn't.
Okay,
notice
have you
that
gone
this
over there
morning.
and tried to sit on any of the
The benches in
benches?
need of disrepair. I
Have you
understand.
looked at the signage that's broken and fallen down? Have you looked at the chains where the poles to prevent people from driving through and creating a safety hazard on Central Avenue? Have you seen any of that?
I've seen all of that today, this morning at 8 a.m.
Okay, well, it's been like that now a year, so you're missing it.
Okay.
You're missing it.
I will
It's
tell
a
my-
dump. I'll tell you again, it's still a dump. You may not think so, we all have opinions.
Hey,
Good luck
can I-
with your-
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
I've got the October 26, 2023 minutes.
Mine-
I've replicated them here, and it only has you saying the following. Asked if RP Urban Renewal LLC applied for the pilot. Chairman Kuznewski.
That's older, that's
Yeah,
a different one.
I don't have.
This is on 10/27/2022, Bank and Diner extension discussion, building and land use applications, RP Urban Renewal. This is from your website.
I don't
So
have it.
it's still there somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's the public portion, and I was the only one that asked
I stand
whoever the
corrected.
attorney,
Yeah.
whoever the attorney was at the time, ascribing conditions that don't look so good for Rocha Park.
Could I see that? Because I'm wondering if in there, there's a condition that says they have to start all over if they reach number 3.
No, that was never.
Oh, okay.
I looked up for it.
I'll hand it back to you. Thank you. Thanks.
It's the Rosenberg project.
I don't have anything else. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Bahassel?
If he wants to keep that and return it.
We will return it to you, yes,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Thank you so much. Anyone else in the public about this particular property? I'm seeing none. I'm just, bring it back up to the dais. Any other thoughts or questions before we move to make a decision? No, seeing none. Hi, Mr. Mondello.
So you need a motion followed by a second, either to grant an extension from November 2000, what's the exact date?
24th, I believe.
Thank you. November 24th, 2024 to November 24th, 2025.
With the conditions, which are to clean up the property and to go before the Shade Tree Commission in town.
Oh, forgive me, Mr. Modell.
11th.
November 19th.
No, sorry.
Thank you.
11/19, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll ask for.
Can I just ask one real quick question?
Yes, of course.
If we were to say no, what happens? I mean,
Well, they might have some difficulty with the bank, because the bank may want to see that we granted this extension, and the bank may not understand that this extension has nothing to do with the site plan, that lives in perpetuity to some extent. But that would, I guess in my opinion, that would only be the negative. Do you see any other?
That is correct.
I don't see anything else. Yeah.
It is, but it's a big negative.
Yeah, no, certainly.
In this environment, absolutely.
I see Mr. Burgess.
Yeah, the only other issue, the benefit of it granting the extension, it protects them from the governing body
Yes,
changing the zoning on them.
we discussed that, yep.
That's
Which I guess the bank would be very interested in
Yes.
seeing. So it is a big one.
Correct.
but they could still go about their business developing the property, right?
Not without the money.
Not without the.
Oh, yeah, you need money.
Financial matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else before we move forward? Okay, so I'll ask for a motion to extend, to grant an extension from November 19th, 2024 to November 19th, 2025 for 210-222 Rochelle Ave, known as the Bank Diner Project, with the conditions of cleaning up the property and the site, as well as going before the Shade Tree Commission.
Oh, and also checking the bank.
Oh, checking the clause about the bank.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Yeah, I'm just curious, if, you know.
So those are the three conditions: clean up the property, visiting the Shade Tree Commission and, ensuring that the bank is still in the site plan, Ms. Muller?
Yeah, with
No
the,
changes.
with the
No change.
drive-through.
With the
That's whole thing,
drive-through,
is the drive-through.
as it was presented,
Right,
the
the
bank
site
in the
plan.
plan.
Yeah.
You'll check
I will
that
check
out,
that. I mean,
and presumably it's not a ministerial
Correct.
change, and
Correct.
if it's major, I think
Understand.
that changes the game.
I understand.
Good catch.
Do we have a motion?
Make a motion.
Okay, Crouppen will make a motion, Eddie will second the motion, let's do a roll call.
Crouppen Dudia,
Here, I mean, yes.
Christine Muller,
Yes.
Adib Aboud,
Yes.
William Coleman,
Yes.
Mayor Judge Crivello. Yes. Committeeman Sherwinski.
Yes.
Andrew Mattson,
Yes.
Chairman Warren,
Yes.
Deborah Kadira,
Yes.
and Louis Mazzone.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much, members of the board.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Kingman. Okay, our next property, this is the requested closed session. So, Mr. Mondello,
Did you want to wait until the end so
we
we go through?
I'm thinking the same thing. Can we wait till that, to the end? Thank you, guys, appreciate it. We're gonna wait for 433 Rochelle Ave to the end, only because the board has requested a closed session. So we're gonna hear about 12 Lexington Avenue, which is a resolution from the planning board,
Oh, that's right.
right?
Yes, all right, so this is 12 Lexington. This was a subdivision as of right. And although the land use board doesn't require that the applicant notice residents within 200 feet and publish in the newspaper, the ordinance does, and the applicant did indeed do that. The lots are completely conforming. It's unusual for the applicant to actually show you what the houses look like, though some towns require that. The applicant did indeed do that. I circulated the resolution. Now, the only folks that could vote on this are those folks that were members of the planning board back in January. And I don't know, and I'm hoping you can help me out.
I can. So the members as of January to be eligible to vote on this are Christine Muller, Mayor Judge Crivello, and Committeeman Sherwinski. Christina Holds is also a eligible member, however, she is not here tonight, so it would leave those three members.
That's fine. I would need a motion from one of those three members, and we would need a majority vote, meaning two from those three members in order to pass this resolution. So, if you've heard your name called, please either decide to make a motion.
Make a motion.
Is
I'll
there-
make a motion.
All right, that was Mr. Twinski. Is there a second? And a roll call.
Okay. Christine Muller,
Yes.
Mayor Judge Crivello,
Yes.
and Committeeman Sherwinski.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, moving on, just for, I know in the new business, we have discussion down. For our next agenda, we have discussion, what like we're gonna do for resolutions, its own
Yeah,
thingy
absolutely. Of course.
earlier on this way.
Yeah, of course.
I'd like to just hold the discussion for a backup engineer until after we hear our clients, so that they're not listening to us decide. So this is where we're going to, hear from first students, correct?
Perfect.
This is the oil tank, application.
Double duty, Mr. Rosenberg. Please step up to the
he's
dais.
back.
Yep.
Mr. Rosenberg is back.
Please enter your appearance into the record. Give the board an idea what this application is about, please.
Good evening. For the record, Bruce Rosenberg of Winnie Bantif, Israeli and Khan. This is a application by First Student. They are the occupant of the premises at 53 Central Avenue. And they have been members of the board for more than 25 years. They have had their bus depot on that property for more than 25 years. And we are seeking this evening is approval from the board to install an above-ground 3,000-gallon diesel tank that will service exclusively the buses that they service and provide services throughout the county from this building. It should be noted that they exist on the site as a prior non-conforming use, which means that they are grandfathered on the property. And this property is 5 acres. And if you didn't know it was there, you would never see it from Central, because you have to basically go into the property to even see it. So it really is not visible, very much so. And,
Bruce,
yeah.
sorry, one quick question.
Sure.
So it's a pre-existing non-conforming?
It is, Mr.
Meaning
Mondello.
they were there before any
Yes.
ordinance was passed in the 50s or 60s?
This use has been recognized by Rochelle Park for many, many years as a prior non-conforming grandfathered use.
How so?
It-
Resolution? or-
Resolutions, approvals.
Okay, okay.
I have multiple documentation to that effect. And the zoning official determined in the review that this is now, because it's an AH zone, a residential zone, that's what makes this prior nonconformity. That's the reason why we're here, because he's viewing it as an expansion, a D2, of the nonconforming use. And that, in a nutshell, is really the application. I have with me this evening 2 witnesses. Michael Klein is a representative of the applicant, and I have Mr. Costa, our engineer and planner. And I was here, yes, and I was here at the beginning of the meeting, and just so everyone knows, these applications were filed many, 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 many months ago. And Mr. Costa has been our engineer for many, 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 many months. And it just happens to be coincidence that now you may be considering, Costa Engineering for that purpose.
And forgive me,
Yes.
Bruce, I just want to really drill down on this, because I want to make sure it's not a D1 variance. You absolutely have evidence there that whether it's in a resolution or something else, that this is a pre-existing non-conforming use that existed before the prohibiting ordinances were ever put in place.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks. Last thing we want is for the board to be voting on a D2 when it's a D1. But you can continue, because I read slow, so.
That's a 2007 agreement between Rochelle Park, the owner of the property, and my client, which acknowledges, Mr. Mondello, the prior non-conforming uses of this property. You will see it.
It's from Joe Torre.
Well, no, if you read the agreement, Mr. Mondello,
Okay.
you read the text of the agreement, and you will see that it acknowledges the prior non-conforming aspects of the use.
You can call your first witness off.
Michael Klein is my first witness.
Welcome, Mr. Klein. Please raise your hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony about to give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
You put your hand down. Please state your name, spell your last name, give us your address.
Michael Klein, C-L-I-N-E, 3 Michael Drive, Edgewood, Kentucky.
Wow, that was a long commute. Your witness, Counselor.
Thank you very much. So Mr. Klein, if you would, first of all, describe to the board your duties and responsibilities for First Student.
So our general business here at First Student, we provide full services for student transportation to and from the schools, including charter service for field trips, summer camps. Those schools include Dwight Englewood, Passaic, Clifton school districts, just to name a few. Some of the high schools is Sage High School, Ramsey High School, and then also the summer camps like Spring Lake, Camp Lots of Fun, so there's several across the board.
And that includes people and students from Rochelle Park, correct?
That is correct. The students that live within the Rochelle Park jurisdiction, yes.
Very good. And just for purposes, how many years has First Student been in business generally?
We've been a school bus operation for over 100 years.
Very good. And would you just describe for the board just the current uses on the property, what activities are going on now?
So the current use of the property is we provide a facility to operate our full operations, which includes office administration, to dispatch, to light maintenance, parking of the school bus fleet, and parking of the employee vehicles.
Very good. Just generally, how many employees at the site?
We have approximately 101 employees.
And you heard me say that you've been operating, 25 years or so for the property. Is it over that, just for the record?
It's over 30 years. We've been operating from that property.
And again, if I may, because Mr. Mondello asked it, has anyone from the municipality ever questioned the ability to operate from the site of the bus depot?
I've been with the company for over 16 years now, and I've not had any comment.
When was it first constructed?
I don't know the answer to that question, unfortunately.
But you've been operating here for more than 30 years?
That's correct.
Okay. Your lease with the property owner has been in effect for more than 30 years?
Continuously.
Continuously. Thank you so much. Just, if you would, just why is the above-ground diesel tank needed for the business?
So the underground tank, we had existing underground tanks, and the property owner has now removed that due to some New Jersey DEP issues, which those are no longer on site. So now we are responsible for providing bulk fuel for our use. And to avoid making additional trips to and from the site for fueling purposes, we want to install an AST on site like we do pretty much at most of our facilities in order to make that happen.
Very good. Mr. Costa is going to review in greater detail the site itself and everything else. But one of the things that was raised by Mr. Burgess in his review letter was why you selected the location of the tank, which is in the westerly corner of the property. Could you just generally describe, why that is? And again, maybe, Mr. Costa, can you just put up the site plan that the board has been provided with, make sure the public can see it?
Bruce, while he's doing that, forgive me. Do you know, apparently this was the subject of, I guess, a prerogative writ.
I just have that agreement.
Okay.
I know more about it.
All right.
Again, so if you would, Mr. Klein, just point out exactly on the plan where the above-ground tank is going to be located.
Possibly right
Yes, I'm sorry, right here.
I'd like to see it.
Mr. Klein, what's going to happen, Mr. Klein, is that Mr. Costa is going to testify about the site details in more detail. Okay?
Sorry, you're going to have to keep it down, and Mr. Rosenberg is going to be asking questions. You'll have a complete.
Mr. Costa, just show the members of the public where the tank is going to be located.
Yes, what's happening? Guys, I just would like everyone to have 1 second to come up to the... No, I want to give you a chance to go up and look at it, but one at a time, so we're not crowding there. So that's all. So I'd just like to have everyone go up one at a time. You can look at it as long as you'd like. Not a problem with any of that. Just want to make sure it's in order, okay? So gentlemen, with the green sweatshirt, you're up there first.
Yes, that's exactly where it is.
Guys, 1 second. If we're going to have the public speak to the attorney and the professional here, I'm going to open up to the public when we have a chance to do that.
What's going to happen is after some testimony, you'll be able to cross-examine, ask questions of this expert. And then at the very end, you'll be able to give testimony. I like it, I don't like it, but right now, it is disturbing the audio, and I'm the guy who gets yelled at when it goes to a Superior Court judge because I didn't protect the record.
Yeah, so everyone from the public who's here tonight about this property and this hearing, will have a chance to ask questions, comment directly to the applicants. You'll be able to see what's up there, and ask about it as soon as we get the testimony that the board needs to hear for the record. So I don't want anyone to think they're not going to be able to say anything or comment or express their approval or disapproval of it. Just have to do it in an orderly fashion. So we're going to head back to you. Okay.
So, Mr. Klein, how often will deliveries be made for the tank, and when will these deliveries be made?
Deliveries will be made during normal business hours, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on an as-needed basis, and we estimate probably around 2 times a week.
Very good. One of the things I'd like you to do, if you can, is just, and this was reviewed in the Boswell review letter, which we were provided with as well. Just, can you generally describe the tank design features, including safety features, that are going to be proposed?
Sure thing. So this tank is a UL 142. It's a double-wall steel tank. This particular tank has an Omnitech system, which would mean that it has an overfill alarm system, tank monitoring, and leak detection. The ladder steps would be used for drivers to walk up the remote fill to put the fill into the tank. There would be a fill box in the tank within a spill bucket containment unit for any chance of overfill from the driver. The tank itself would also have an overfill alarm on it to warn the driver to stop fueling.
Is that just generally one of the reasons why the tank is located where it is, the location that you've selected, so that all of this monitoring can be done by the staff rather than moving it farther to the east, let's say near the railroad tracks?
That is correct. We want to be able to keep an eye on all the fueling operations, as well as if we move it off to the east side, that area is substantial wetlands, which would not allow us to do that.
Very good. I am going to refer to the Boswell review letter, which is dated April 16th. There are some specific questions. The applicant should confirm about the landscape buffer requirements. Mr. Costa is going to talk about that. The applicant should provide information regarding whether there will be an enclosure for the tank. Will there be an enclosure for the tank?
There would not be an enclosure for the tank. It will be an open-air tank.
Very good. Again, I think you've already testified about the overfill spill protection.
That's correct.
All right, the applicant should confirm all piping to the fuel will be above ground. Is that correct?
All piping is above ground.
Okay. And in Boswell, they noted that the tank must also comply with NFPA fire code requirements. Will the applicant be complying with those?
We agree, and it will be compliant to all fire code.
Okay. And the AST capacity 1320, if local surface spills, you must comply also with the SPCC requirements. Will the applicant be complying with that as well?
We will be. The SPCC plan has been drafted and will be completed once we have the permit approved.
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing further of Mr. Klein at this time, but he's certainly available for questions. Thank you so much from the board and, of course, members of the public.
Okay, thank you. So right now, anyone from the board up here would like to ask questions of Mr. Klein or Mr. Rosenberg? Mayor, please.
Mr. Rosenberg, Mr. Klein, I see the one question here is the entrance and exit of how to refill this tank. Can you explain that to the public and the board?
So the entrance.
To refill the tank. Which way are you going in? On Central? How are you getting there?
Central Labs.
Central Ave?
The driveway.
Are you going in that same driveway?
Yes, we're going through the same driveway. Yes.
Okay, and how close is that to the houses by that area?
How close is the driveway?
Yeah, well, where you're gonna have the tank over there,
That's correct.
right? And then you're gonna have the tanker to come refill it, correct? And that's gonna be right by the houses over on that side, right?
The tanker would be approximately right here, right next to the tank.
How far away from homes is that when they're refilling it?
Did you have a distance on that?
Mayor, maybe Mr. Costa will be able to answer that.
And then maybe we should have Mr. Costa speak before
Sure.
anything else.
I think that's fine.
Mike, was that okay?
Yes,
Yeah.
please. I wait to swear, Mr. Costa.
Welcome, Mr. Costa, nice to see you again.
Mr. Mondello?
Please raise your right hand, do you swear affirm the testimony about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, please state your name, spell your last name, give us your address.
For the record, my name is Robert Louis Costa, C-O-S-T-A, 325 South River Street in Hackensack, New Jersey.
Your witness, counselor.
If I may, just for the record, Mr. Costa's going to testify both as engineer and a planner. He is qualified in both, Mr. Mondello, and members of the board.
Any objection from the board members?
No.
Thank you very much. So if I may, Mr. Costa, you prepared the site plan drawings that have been submitted with the application, correct? That is correct. Okay. Maybe you could just do a general overview before we get to the specifics of ingress and egress and things of that nature.
I'm going to make it easier.
Sure.
We did an exhibit today because I anticipated the question, Mayor, you just asked.
I'm sorry.
I said I anticipated.
Microphone, please, Bob.
I apologize. I anticipated the question that you actually asked. So I had my, one of my staff use Google Earth and then dimension it to the backyards of the various houses with dimensions.
Is that copies for us, Mr. Costa?
It is.
Thank you.
Ma'am?
Mr. Mondello, since this has not been submitted with the application, shall we mark this as an exhibit?
Yeah, that's fine, yeah. And it might be a good idea if Mr. Costa uses the microphone in the center, and then puts it back when the public, because the last couple of audios that I have listened to have not been very decipherable.
Yep.
So A1, is that what we said?
Yeah, A1 is fine.
Thank you, Bob.
You want to use that mic, Mr. Costa?
You can pull it off.
Yeah, it's wireless.
I think the last time I did this, I actually started singing here, Chairman, but anyway. What you have in front of you this evening is basically, we took the site plan, or Google Earth, excuse me, superimposed the actual location of the diesel tank, and the dimensions from that point. It's around 42 feet from the property line to the actual tank itself. And then if you extend that to the backyards of the various homes, it's roughly 150 feet to those homes. And we did basically 4 over there. And it's pretty close. 140, I think it's 142 feet to roughly 150 feet.
Yes, sir. From the audience?
Is the microphone on? You got to tell.
Just hold it closer to you. I think it's, there you go. Thank you. I'll go back again. So basically what we did is took a Google Earth photo, superimposed the actual proposed tank on that, and then dimensioned that to the various houses. I believe there's 4 of them. If you need be, I could give you the lot and blocks. I'm not sure if I can give you the addresses. But roughly, it goes from 142 feet to the rear of the backyard of the house to roughly 150 feet.
Sir.
You'll get your chance, sir. I promise. You have to wait until the testimony is done and the public can speak then.
Well,
Yes.
come sit closer.
You can move up closer, sir, or you can, again, when it's time for the public to ask, you're going to have him demonstrate anything you'd like to have demonstrated, sir. That's okay.
All right, so Mr. Costa, for the record, just if you would review the site and the surrounding uses, if you would.
Okay, again. Basically, you come off of Central Avenue, there's a driveway that comes into the site for the ingress and egress, everybody's familiar with. There's parking, it's striped parking in the macadam area, and then if you go to the rear or the easterly portion, there's actually gravel there. And I think the gravel, from my recollection, probably dates back to 2007 and 2008. Actually, I had hair, Mayor, when I came in for that with Joe Torre. And Rich Boland was your construction official at the time. We actually got an approval based on that, or it went to court. I don't remember going to court, Mr. Mondello. I thought it was actually a settlement with Mr. Boland, and I think that's the document that...
I had to recuse myself from that.
Okay. That was done, and then there was talk about buffers and setbacks from property lines, and then there was discussion about a fence, an 8-foot fence. If the 8-foot fence was placed along the property lines where the residential portion existed, then the buffer would go to 0.
It didn't have to have a buffer of 20 or 25 feet from my recollection. Either way, that could be maintained by the town, obviously has to be maintained by this property owner. I was there today. I'm sure some of these individuals in the audience are going to get up and say, let's do a little maintenance here along those property lines, and that's probably has to happen. As far as this proposal itself, where it is directly east of the maintenance building that exists today. There's garage doors there. So I think there was a question, how would you fill this? 3,000-gallon tank. I'm not sure if Rochelle Park uses Michelle, River Edge does. So they're not tanker trucks. They're not, basically, they're the smaller vehicles, the order delivery vehicles. So you would use that, fill it, come in, circumvent, go next to it, and out. The reason the tank is on that side and not on the opposite side is because when you fill up the school bus, it's actually on the passenger side is where the fill is for the school bus. So that does that. One parking space would come out, and basically where the bus is actually parking in this photo, you would move the bus in, stop, get out, fuel it, and then continue left away from the houses and out and go on your merry way wherever they go.
So just for the record, this is not a fuel tanker truck
Yeah.
okay, that's very important.
Basically, that's it. You're 41, I think it's 41 and a half feet off the property line. And again, you're in close proximity to the actual building itself where they do the maintenance. It's where their offices are. It's where the electric is. To push it all the way in the back, again, you create more traffic, more time consuming to get to here, where you would just do that, fill it. I'm not sure if they would do it probably in the AM when they come, PM when they come back, or AM when they come back. And then park the vehicle back on site.
Other members of the board up here have questions for any of the three gentlemen presenting. Mr. Trubinsky?
Yes. Hi, how are you? Thanks for being here. My question starts with, you said it was presented that there was an existing tank that was removed? The property owner had to remove a tank?
Yes, there was an existing underground tank.
How big was that tank?
I believe it was 20,000 gallons.
Okay. And where was that located on the property? I can't see from this angle, I'm sorry.
Are you able to explain for the record what you have just done and where you have just pointed?
It's right in, I guess, southeast corner, just south of the building. The southeast corner, south of the building.
Thank you.
I assume the owner is in the audience, the owner of the property? No?
No.
Oh.
These are representatives of the applicant, some of whom come from Cincinnati.
He's a representative, yeah.
He's an representative, we have other representatives as well.
Of representatives of the owner of the property?
No, of the applicant.
All these are of the
just
applicant?
from First View.
So nobody's here for the owner of the property?
No.
Okay. So my question is, why couldn't they put the tank back in the ground? The owner?
The owner did not want to put it back into the ground, and we needed it. So all of our installations are more or less above ground storage tanks due to the environmental concern of putting tanks below ground. So all of our installations, say 95% of them across the nation, are above ground storage tanks.
Is that because when there is a leak, it's extraordinarily expensive to you to clean those leaks?
That's exactly one reason, and it's easily identifiable. If something were to happen with an above ground tank, we know exactly what happens, and we can repair it, replace it, whatever we need to do without it being underground and not seeing what's going on.
And I just want to understand, I'm sorry.
That's good.
And I just want to understand, that's simply a choice of the applicant to be above ground. There is nothing physically stopping you from having it in ground other than the fact that for environmental reasons, financial reasons, et cetera, you would not want to do that.
That is correct.
Mr. Trubinsky, anything else?
Yeah, just correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mondello, but financial issues are not something that this board considers, right?
Never.
Okay.
Environmental could be, but not financial.
Okay.
I do have a question before I go to other board members. What are the safety measures or mechanisms on this above-ground tank if there is a leak? What if it's the middle of the night and a leak springs out? What's the mechanisms on this tank to prevent something, catastrophic from happening?
I've actually done some of these in the past, but basically, I think you heard testimony, there's alarm systems, there's leak detection, there's automatic shut-offs, that if something happens, there's gonna be, when this is happening, when they're fueling, there will be people there. They have to provide a stormwater pollution prevention plan that in the event there's a spill, they need to then follow that plan to the letter to contain that spill and not have it be an environmental nuisance. Just getting back as far as the above ground, certainly we could add some landscaping to buffer this out, but basically 150 feet away, you have the fence. But certainly in the view shed of these homes, you can certainly put some evergreens there, arborvitae or something, or even Leland cypress that grow quickly. And certainly we could buffer that out where nobody would even see this.
Yes, Mr. Mattson.
Mr. Rosenberg,
Yes.
it's your application, but
Yes.
it appears by some of the physical gestures, the gentleman behind you in the black shirt is chomping at the bit to answer that question.
Well, I wanted to bring up Mr. Kevin Underdown, because he really is the expert on the issue of leak detection
I could
and
tell.
safety.
He was
So,
like this.
if we want, then I'm gonna call Mr. Kevin Underdown, who's
Oh.
also here.
I see.
I believe, I don't know, Mr. Underdown, you're gonna have to come up, please, and be sworn.
Thank you for your patience, Mr. Rosenberg.
That's
How are you?
okay.
How are you, sir? Please raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony about to give you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please put your hand down, state your name, spell your last name, give us your address.
Kevin Underdown, UNDERDOWN, 481 Veterans Highway, Smithtown, New York.
All right, so you heard the question. The board is very concerned. What type of mechanisms are in place, alarms, et cetera, et cetera?
So on these tanks that we put in for First Student and Strat Environmental, we put in leak detector systems. There's an OMTEX system that goes in. It's a panel that's mounted inside the office so that the inside personnel will be able to monitor tank levels, any kind of leak detection, any kind of interstitial leaks. If there is any kind of leaks detected on the tank, it'll send a warning signal inside to the operators inside the building, especially if they're fueling the tanks up. I know Mr. Klein mentioned the overflow protection alarm that's on it. It's on the building itself. There's an alarm, actual sounding alarm. There's a siren alarm that goes off, so in case, God forbid, there is an overfill, the alarms will go off, a siren will go off. It'll alert the driver to stop fueling.
Would those same mechanisms exist on an underground tank as well?
Yes, sir.
So you can have those leak detections, monitoring systems, if the tank is underground?
Of course.
So what is the impetus to have an above-ground tank where there was not one before?
Well, as Mr. Klein mentioned earlier, obviously, dealing these tanks underground work, you could have environmental impact where we had, in this case, the tank was taken underground, for whatever reason. I was not involved in that. But there are issues that sometimes like that happens, and you can do a cleanup on that. And I know this tank was taken out, how many years ago? But this tank that we brought from another facility has been tested. We always do a tightness test on these tanks to make sure that they're passable, that there's no leaks. This tank was tested and passed by one of our testers in the company. So it is a safe tank.
So it seems, though, that there's less of a concern when it's above ground than it is if there's an issue underground.
Correct.
But, you're telling me on one hand that there are all these safety procedures in place for an above-ground tank to avoid, issues with leaking and perhaps combustible stuff. But you also have that same ability underground.
There is.
But,
we had mentioned before that it obviously is an above-ground tank. You
Right.
can obviously see if there's a leak detected somewhere that's on top of the tank or a leaky fitting or any of that may be in the case. But underground, you have piping underground, you're not going to be able to see that right away. You can pick it up, but over time, there could be a leak. I mean, for example, we did a job for a college in the Bronx, and they leaked for 15 years, and nobody knew, until all of a sudden, they had some testing done, and they wound up being that there was a leak in that line for that many years. But it was so minimal that it wasn't picked up as a leak detection.
All right, I understand. I see Mr. Burgess, he'd like to jump in, but I just find, I don't know, I'm finding it odd that these are totally safe, but then there are issues that could happen, but we'd rather have them above ground issues than underground issues, but they're totally safe and nothing's going to happen. So Mr. Burgess, it's up to you now. You're next, yes.
Well, actually, some of the questions I had in my report have been addressed. But what happens if there is a spill when no one's on site? What's the protocol for cleanup, and how's the quick response time occur?
Well, yes, there is a spill that has to be called, and you would have to call in the Jersey Spill Hotline to create a spill ticket. And you'd have to go out there with a response team to be able to get the spill cleaned up in time, of course.
So what time are employees on site?
I guess
We're typically, normal business hours are 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay, so from 6:10 to 6 in the morning, no one's there. So again, what protocol is there that if there's a spill at night, to detect it and have a cleanup crew on site as soon as possible?
You would have to have a monitoring system, 24-hour basis, I guess you could say overnight, which I know some of your facilities do have leak detection monitoring people that monitor all the tanks and fuel levels. We did Lincoln Park for you guys, and it was the same thing. It was an overnight service.
Is that proposed here?
Huh?
Is that being proposed here?
We can do that, sure, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, it is, Joe.
Yeah.
So, do most gas stations have that, to Joe's point? If there's a leak, DEP knows about it in a couple days, or they
The
inspect?
only stations that have that, sir, are the bigger ones, like I'd say Wawa or 7-Elevens, but the average stations, they do have leak detection systems, but they don't have 24-hour monitoring, no.
Again, yes, Mr. Judy.
How about the smell though? Like if you over above ground tank, they'll have like pungent smell, residences behind that, and how do you stop that? You know, diesel has a terrible smell. I hate it. I get a headache every time I smell diesel, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, most of the diesel now, it's pretty much, it's very clean, I would say that. They do clean these out. You're not going to get 100% perfect fuel when it comes out, but they are, you know, it's cleaner than having a gasoline smell, that's for sure.
But if there were a leak overnight, and if there was a fire or explosion or anything else, again, that's...
Well, everything that's put on this tank is explosion-proof fittings. And anytime there's a fire detection, the system shuts down. So there's no, and even like the dispensers for the bus drivers, they, EVR programs for the state of New Jersey, very strict. It's dripless nozzles. So as soon as the gas is stopped, there's no drip. It contains inside the nozzle itself, goes back into the tank. That's a requirement for DEP for EVR.
I have a question, piggybacking on the smell question. Just during the normal filling process, do you know is there more smell noticeable in an above-ground tank versus a tank that's below ground during the normal filling process? And also, I'm curious if the company can tell me, how many times does a tank like this need to be filled during the week, whatever the time period is? What's the frequency?
To answer your first question, as far as filling up wise, it would really depend on the usage.
So just let the record reflect that it appears that at least one of the witnesses is asking another potential witness for some information, which is okay, but we'd like the record to reflect that that's what's going on.
You did say 2 times a week. I agree.
I mean, at some point, the board's going to ask that he be sworn in. Sure. Unless you object, of course, Mr.
I
Rizzo.
will not object. What? He said 2 to 3 times a week before.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Let's bring up John.
John is our local maintenance manager on site.
Okay. That's fine. He's in the trenches. I could tell he was chomping in the bit. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
Put your hand down. Please state your name, spell your last name, give us your address.
John Berardi, B-E-R-A-R-D-I, 4 Cheryl Court, Mayapack, New York.
What type of witness is this, Mr.
He's
Rosen?
a fact witness, Mr. Mondello. Mr. Berardi, just review your qualifications, please. What do you do for the company?
I'm a service manager in charge of maintaining the fleet of buses.
He's in the trenches.
There you go.
I am.
So the board members have asked about just the actual filling operations and processes. Can you describe how that occurred when the tanks were underground and how it's going to occur with an above-ground tank?
Sure. There were two 10,000-gallon tanks located in the site that was described prior. They were underground, so the tanker would come in, and it was a large tanker. They would fill gasoline and diesel both at the same time. It would be exactly the same, only the hose would be above the ground. As opposed to being on the ground, it would be above the tank.
And you feel no difference in the, emitting the fumes?
There is no fumes during the filling of the tank. The hose is sealed, so there's no venting of anything.
Are you absolutely sure about that? My office adjoins a gas station.
Right.
I always smell when they are filling up the tanks, always.
No, there's a vent pipe that's extended above the tank. I couldn't speak for how far it is. I would believe it's about 10 feet or so. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the only place any fumes would come out.
Okay.
And what's the frequency of fueling deliveries that you anticipate?
Deliveries would be probably 2 a week, maybe less. Depends on if schools are open. Summertime, we wouldn't have that many deliveries.
Thank you. Ms. Muller?
Never mind how many deliveries, how many times do the buses fill up there every day? You've got how many, first off, how many buses do you have?
We have approximately 79 vehicles. They are not all diesel.
Oh, they're not?
No.
Okay, how many are diesel?
I couldn't give you an exact number, but I would say probably 60%.
Math problem.
Think we'll read something.
So how many, but again, how many times a day will they be circling, going through there, making noise? There'll be activity close to the neighbors.
Right, okay, so there is a morning rollout,
Right.
and then the vehicles return, and that's when they would fuel, on their return. So that would probably be between 9 and 11, and then they can fuel before they exit again. So that would be around 1:30, 2 o'clock. And then they can fuel when they return from their runs.
Well, but
But it would all be,
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been existing for decades.
It has been,
yeah, the operation has been the same forever.
Okay.
Yes.
But how long ago were they fueling up there? How long ago has that other tank been gone?
I would speculate to say that it was 2, maybe 3 years ago that it was removed.
I think it was about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, the underground tanks.
So up until then, they were doing the same thing, but they haven't done it in a year or two.
Correct.
That's correct.
How do they feel now? Do they get off-site?
We do retail fueling, only due to the fact that we've been waiting for approval for this above-ground tank.
Just for my own sake, where are the wetlands on that property somebody testified to?
Up in this area, the most easterly portion.
Okay. And you said about 101 employees. I was looking at your site plan here, and you've got about 36 spaces, parking spaces, that are paved and striped. Were you saying you were allowed to have gravel? Or where does everybody else park in the buses? Outside of the parking spaces? I'm just curious. I'm looking at your site plan, and I've counted 36 spaces, 15 underneath that building and 15, and how many? Like 21 spaces on the right-hand side. So I'm just curious, how many striped spaces do you have there? I'm just curious if you have any more than that.
There is more than that. There's actually 17 spots here, doubled up. And then these are doubled up as well.
Right, and it's around 30, whatever it is. I counted around 36 spaces, but I'm just wondering, where is everybody else parking all over the place?
Well, they park in the back lot here.
Okay, that's a real lot, is that when you were talking about the gravel lot?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And, what else? Oh, why can't you move that further down, that space? I know you're saying you can't put it way out in the boonies, you can't put it here. Why can't you move it further away from the, neighbors?
You mean southerly, this way? It is possible to do that.
Move it to here. Why can't you move it here?
That's not so, that's
Well, I don't know. I'm talking, just down. Why can't you move it, if you're looking at it, further down from where it is? So that you're further away from Central Avenue.
Okay, so that would be
You're still in
southerly.
the general area where you need to be and all the facilities and,
Well, I think it would be more of a hazard there because we'd still need the parking spaces, so we'd have to have buses parked on this side of the tank as well. The tank would be located in between parked vehicles, which would make it a little bit more of a hazard.
Thank you, Mr. Mattson.
If I may, I think on the getting away from the houses, their picture's cut off, but you can see Central Ave. It starts to curve. So if you were to move the tank as far away from the building as you could without going into the wetlands, that would, in theory, move it away from the houses on Central because of how you could see the road. If you want me to get up, I can show you.
Yeah, I'd actually like to see where exactly you're talking about.
Just have two questions.
Here's Central, and you can see if it didn't curve, it would just stay on the picture, but it disappears. And you can see the houses stay on the road. So if this were to move this way and stay the same spot, just like how the road pulls the houses away from it, it would get further from the houses.
Yeah,
That way.
again, I think that would cause,
The complaints I heard were because it would be costly, because you have to run the electrical further and all that, but I don't know where the actual wetlands starts,
right where your hand is,
so
right here.
so that would be,
Yeah, I mean, and that would cause some operational difficulties as well, so.
what would be the operational difficulty?
Well, again, there would be buses on both sides of the tank.
So you're not going to put buses on both sides of the tank as this is proposed?
No, the tank would be open. This spot would be clear and this area is clear. That's a throughway.
Could we call back Mr. Costa? Mr. Costa, just come back and show your plan again, so that all the board members know exactly where the tank is to be placed.
All right, again, just for clarity in the record, the proposal is to have the tank roughly 42 feet off the property line. And again, this would be an access way. In the approval back in, I believe it's 07 or 08, this site, 5 acres, I believe was allowed to have a maximum of 149 buses on site, which I didn't count the buses when I was there this morning or this afternoon. But you heard testimony, there's roughly 80 of them on site. The back obviously isn't striped because it's a gravel parking lot, and again, that was part of the approval back in the 08. With this, could you move it? Yes. If you lost one other parking space to stay away from it, absolutely. So I think maybe in a spirit of cooperation and compromise, you can certainly move this further south and get it as far away from both neighbors. And I think that would probably suffice. I know you're saying you can't. I think you can. I just talked to the tank guy and whispered in his ear, can it be done? Absolutely. If we have to lose one parking space, also, with the buses parked at night, if you put it there, you're not going to see it, because you're going to see the same thing you see tonight when you go home. You're going to see a bus, and you're not going to see any of the above-ground tank. So the buses are probably going to shield that out, and I think it compromises and gets everybody where they need to be.
So this picture you show us where all those buses are parked, where you tell me you're sacrificing a spot?
Well, again, if you have to pull something in there, or you're saying it's going to be too close to a bus.
Regardless, I just want to understand.
Right.
Right where your finger's pointed.
Let's keep it behind the building, so the building
But
itself.
forget about that. Right where your finger was pointed, where those yellow buses are parked.
Correct.
That's the only spot where you have parking spaces for those buses?
These parking spaces are striped today. This is macadam, and then the macadam stops. The
And
rear
then
portion,
all that you just touched, that they own, that they said was gravel, you can't park anything over there?
they park there, yes.
Because I have the Google Maps up that shows everything, and they don't really use that spot. So you're saying you're gonna lose a parking spot if you move it further from the homes, but it seems like you have plenty of parking.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have plenty of parking. I'm saying you're gonna lose, what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
you're gonna move this further south, still have it behind the building, so the building covers it. You won't be able to see it if you came into the site. At night, or when the buses come back, the neighbors would see exactly what they see existing, because the bus would cover it. So, and again, well.
Yeah, the
certainly
answer is yes.
Yes.
We've spoken to Mr. Klein, and yes, we can certainly move the tank further south.
Absolutely. And we can still buffer, again, along the property line at this location with evergreens.
At this time, I'd like to ask the public if they would like to approach the microphone, if you could put it back onto the stand there.
Mr. Chairman.
Just if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I want to make sure everyone understands that Mr. Costa is also our planner, and we'll be providing some testimony on that as well.
Yes. But I just want to make sure the public understands this is for questions only. So if you have a question for any of the gentlemen that have testified here, you can come up to the mic and tell us your name and address and ask your question. Hello, sir.
My name is, excuse me, my name is Ameri. I am owner of 75 Central Avenue, Rochelle Park.
Okay. Yes, you can ask. Sorry, sir. Yes, go ahead.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
4 times, okay, hi, my name is Ameri, how are you? 4 times, sitting here, 4 times.
So
you
remember, a
mentioned-
question, sir, right? You're going to ask a question.
You mentioned 4 times to make sure all of us and the audience saying it was approved. Last time you said was 08. Do you have any document of that?
So that would be for the attorney, and the only thing, which scares me a little bit, although I know it's been in operation for 30 years, just an agreement from Mr. Torrey, who I guess was the board's attorney or the borough?
He was the applicant.
Okay, he was the applicant's attorney back in 2007, and it's signed by Richard Boland, who was the construction code official. And apparently there was some litigation, and this litigation was settled, and there are settlement agreements in that letter that Mr. Rosenberg was kind enough to provide me. So other than that, I don't know. I don't know.
Yes, that, we don't know. We don't know exactly what happened. Right, that's once.
Sir.
I'm not done with you.
Hold on.
Wait, hold on 1 second, guys.
Mr. Costa,
Okay.
Yes.
I
Mr. Cohen,
happened,
go ahead.
I happened to be on the board back then in 2007. And the issue that came up was the additional buses in the back parking lot. Originally, you had the front parking lot where you had 40, 50 buses. And you insisted that you were using the back, and that was the big controversy back then. And you made an agreement with the township committee that basically took it out of the hands of the board, and you negotiated a deal to allow you the 149 buses for that property.
Wow, this is good for me, Bill. So they came before the board for a D1 variance or a D2 variance?
Yes.
Which one?
One.
So it was not a permitted use, and the zoning board gave them that use.
Well, it was actually taken out of our hands, and the township committee took it over at that time.
That can happen, unless, of course, unless there was a prerogative writ, and you decided to settle the prerogative writ.
Well, the big thing was the parking issue.
Hold on, yeah.
The parking
One at a
issue.
time, please.
As far as the use or anything else.
You guys were fine with the use, but you had an issue with the parking.
The use didn't even come up.
Ah.
It was just the extension of the parking, which we felt that they weren't approved for the extended parking in the back section. And they said that they were using the back section all along, but they weren't. So the township said, listen, we'll negotiate. And Mr. Casa, you can.
That's my recollection. My recollection is.
Microphone, Bob, please. Yeah, I know, it's just that, I'm the guy who gets yelled at.
You know what they normally say? This is like a deadly weapon in my hand. And again, I
Well, we'll all
agree with
brace
you, I
ourselves
agree
here.
with you 100%. Back then, the matter, again, I thought it was 08, 07. The rear portion was gravel. From my recollection, we had to add more gravel because I think Ken Job, was the town engineer at the
Yes.
time. There was an inspection done. I believe I was there, and I was there with Ken Job, and I think there were other officials from the town at that point. And maybe Mr. Boland was there. And then we said, we're going to bring in additional gravel to straighten out the back, and it had to be the erection of an 8-foot fence or a 6-foot fence on the property lines. And where there was fence missing, they had to put fence in.
Correct.
That was my recollection.
Correct.
And Bob, since you were there, and you're a planner too, the D1 variance never came into play? I mean, if it was a D1 variance, it was a prohibited use.
Again, you had, Joe Torre was the attorney.
Yeah.
And as you are aware, Scholastic Bus Company, that was his claim to fame.
Yeah.
So that was the case that he was on. I think it went possibly to the Supreme Court, or at least the appellate division, that said that this use is inherently beneficial because it serves.
There we go. Got it. Thank you. Thank you.
And ad nauseum, I had to listen to Joe Torre tell me how well he did on that particular case. And that's how I recall.
Thank you.
Bob.
There we go, Mr. Rosenberg.
Right.
It's an
That's
inherent-
what the settlement says. The settlement acknowledges it's a prior non-conforming use. Read the settlement.
I did.
And it says, this is a prior non-conforming use.
Yeah, and that's from the applicant's attorney, though.
And, no, it's in the settlement agreement.
Could I ask you a question on that?
Yes, you can.
Because,
And it's inherently beneficial.
the applicant testified earlier that you were working here for 16 years, but the bus company's been here for about 30. Was there another bus company occupying the site before that? Because I know that you had a zoning ordinance going back much earlier than the 80s.
50s.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Montefiore, I believe, had that school bus.
Okay, so there was another bus company.
So there's a high probability that they were there before the prohibiting ordinance, although we've got nothing like that before us. Okay.
Right.
Not that we need it.
Bob is correct, because that Scholastic case is a well-known case identifying school bus companies as an inherently beneficial use, which would have been a special reason for any use variance anyway.
Okay.
Thank you. Gentlemen at the microphone.
Okay, I have another question. How much space would you have if all the buses would park on your property? How much space would left out?
I'm not sure who wants that, but basically, the 2007 agreement limits the amount of buses that can go on this site to 149.
No. My question was, how much free space would be after 140 buses parked in your property?
Mr. Costa, microphone.
You don't know that, do you?
I didn't do that analysis. If you park buses side by side, how much open space would you have? Is that your thing?
Would lift out.
Right.
My property, or God forbid, if the middle of the night, the fire started, do we have enough fire truck parking to go to distinguish those fires?
Mr. Costa, that's a fair question. Why don't you talk about the circulation availability on the site as an engineer who's familiar with the
Do we have
site?
enough
Right?
space for?
It's 5 acres, Mr. Costa.
Of course, absolutely.
How
Absolutely.
do you know? You just say you don't know that, you tell me.
No, but, okay.
All right, again, we're going to get this
If
question
you've ever
answered
been
here.
if you've ever been on the site, which again, I was there today, all right, because I like to go the day of the meeting, this way there's very few surprises. The ingress and egress is off of Central Avenue. You have a two-way driveway, you come around, there's striping on the macadam area itself. There's parking striping, and there's actually arrows, for directional arrows on it. So you have circulation, if that's what your question is. No.
I am sure you show us the plans, right, the measurement of the plans, I am sure you have the measurements of 840 buses parked in that area. Do you have enough room for the fire trucks?
Yes,
In case?
yes. That plan was actually part and parcel to this 2007 settlement with the town, yes.
What is the length of the ladder fire truck?
What, this particular town?
Okay, listen, we're talking about 140, right, buses with a full tank. As you mentioned, when they come back, they fill it up full tank, right?
Correct.
All right. So all the buses, 140 buses with a full tank, right? And you have 3,000 gallon tank over there. It's not one fire truck or two fire truck would come there. At least 100 fire truck would be there.
Again, I think I could pass the microphone off to this gentleman. As far as the tank, the alarm systems, all of the above. The answer to your question is, this company has been operating there, as far as I know, 2006, when I was involved. The buses were there. That's not going to change. That dynamic isn't changing. The only dynamic we're asking for tonight is to place an above-ground tank that contains 3,000 gallons of diesel fuel. That's it. Everything else remains the same. If this tank is not allowed, if this board denies it, these buses still exist today. These buses will exist tomorrow, and these buses will be full of fuel. So that dynamic is not changing, sir.
The dynamic will change for the safety of my family and everybody and family else. Listen, a BMW 2023 burned in one of my next door house, and it burned up my house. 4 people got injured, okay? That accident could happen.
Okay, I'm not aware of that, sir.
I understand, but accident can happen.
Of course.
My very, very simple question, do you have enough fire truck? God forbid, I'm saying, it might happen, it may not happen, right? But accident.
What I'm saying is the town has fire trucks. The town provides the service. Again, in the Boswell letter, we have to comply with all of those requests in the Boswell letter, including the fire department and the fire subcode official. These tanks, and again, I'm going to pass the microphone off, because that gentleman can certainly tell you exactly the safety features of a double-wall diesel tank. It's 3,000 gallons, it's above grade, and again, he could certainly tell you that.
My question has still remained the same.
Okay.
One of the buses was on fire and spread all around, right?
Go right ahead.
One of the buses had nothing to do with the tank. The tank I got on fire made the heat full of the tank. Do you have enough fire truck space?
Yes.
Yeah. He's asking about the fire truck. He's a resident, let him speak.
That's not what I said, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Anyone else from the public who has a question for the professionals here can step up to the microphone with your name and address, please.
And you'll get your bingo card up.
Monica Ramos, 103 Central Avenue.
Hi, Monica.
Hi. So I just have a question. In the event we do have a spillage or a leakage, who would be, like I have a pool in my residence, right? If there's a leakage into our property, into the ground, it's going to affect clearly more than just the pool, but just the yard. Who would be responsible for the cleanage of any removal of any spillage or anything in our property?
When I first got up, they are required to file what's called a stormwater pollution prevention plan. So in that document would be the responsible party that in the event there's a spill, they need to follow that plan to the letter of the law, and they are responsible. So in this case, it would be First Student, it would be them, it would be their insurance company, I would imagine. That's how that works. So if you were affected, and again, by moving it away, they still have to come up with a plan that in the event something happens, there's a leak, there's something, a rupture, they need to put this plan, how they're going to contain that immediately. That's what they have to do. They are the responsible party.
So my other question, based on this photo, can you just show again where the tank would be? Because this one is more Google Earth, so I understand it better than the diagram, the architectural diagram.
So right now, the proposal was roughly 42 feet from the property line, 150 feet from the back of the houses. The question would be, or the compromise, the amendment would be to move that location. Basically, you would be fueling up at the corner of the building, so the tank would be roughly 8 feet off the corner of the building.
Okay, so in relation, because again, I am not the best with maps.
Center of the lot.
Okay, so the center of the, currently in the center of lot, that's where it's gonna
So
go?
we could say the center of the lot, so it would be equidistant from basically the houses on both sides.
Okay, you don't, again, I don't know what my lot number is, so I couldn't tell you. So you wouldn't know what house number on Central Avenue it would be behind by chance?
Now that used to be 20,000. That's what you do for a I think so.
This would be with the
83 Central would be right where.
103, no, I'm further away.
She's all the way through this thing around. She's not 83. She's right here. This is yeah, that goes there. That's from the building. Yeah. That's her.
Ms. Ramos,
Yes.
I have a question for you, if you don't mind. As a resident nearby this property, would you feel more secure if this tank was in the ground or above ground?
Honestly, I actually would prefer it above the ground due to it being underground. I think, like they mentioned, the, not knowing, right? I'd rather know if there's a spillage above before underground. I would be on that end if we're going to move forward with it. But I was just trying to find out in relation, and again, supposed to be my husband, it's, Holy Thursday, so he's at Mass, so I am here representing us, where he would have known better than me. And so I was just, our main thing was where in relation to our yard is it going to be, and I don't know the answer based on that, so I don't know.
We're going to find out exactly. What was
Okay.
your last name again? I apologize.
Ramos is the last name? And I think just a lot of people here would, if you can dictate there, I'm sure they could figure out where in relation their house would be in relation to.
I can show you.
Yeah, we could show you if you come up
Okay.
here.
Okay.
And this is where basically you want to put it 4 meters down.
Okay, so it's going to be further.
Ms. Ramos, are there any other questions?
No, those were my main questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else from the public to ask a question about the oil tank to the applicant? Hello, sir. Just your name and address?
Sure, Pablo Rancier, Oak Street.
Can you say it one more time, sir?
Sure, Pablo Rancier, Oak Street. I guess my question first is to Mr. Costa, when you get a second.
Mr. Costa, we have a question for you.
So you said that you were on the property today, correct? So you saw the state of the property?
Yes.
How would you describe it?
There was a gentleman out there that was actually cutting down some brush and stuff. But yes.
So this is pretty recently. They don't very much take. First, I just want to ask, who's in charge of the maintenance of the property? Is it first student or the property owner? Okay. So I have a dying tree in my backyard. Obviously, nothing to do with this, but I've been calling about that several times. Nothing's been done about it. So when you say you're going to be doing evergreens or some other type of property maintenance, I'm kind of worried that that's not really getting done now. So how are we going to be, I guess, how are you going to be, like, taking responsibility over that going forward?
Here's the good news. You see the guy, well, you see this board? They can provide conditions to this to this entity. And the guy with the ponytail, which I still can't imagine until tonight, he has to write the resolution.
He's wearing the same jacket he did when he sued us.
He would write a resolution, and it would be conditioned upon what this board says. And that can actually be put in. And then, once that is done, then it goes to the town level. The town is the police. They're not the police. They're not the landscape police. Then it goes into the town and property maintenance. I'm sure there's a property maintenance official in it. So what you need to do tomorrow morning, have one for yourself, your wife, your significant other, anybody in the audience, dial the property maintenance and say, let's take a ride over to First Street. And that's how that works.
So Pablo, let me ask you, what's the property look like? Is it in rough shape? Is it in good shape? Is this repair?
So I would say, like, the building itself, from the distance, it looks fine. I'd never walked back there and looked. The only time I've walked back there is to look at the actual, basically behind my fence is a bunch of trees. There's just debris everywhere. And even, right, and even on the bus lot, they only started cleaning it up over the last couple of weeks, which I can only imagine was for
You thank
this
Mr.
meeting.
Rosenberg for that.
What a surprise.
So, right, so like, my question is, again, you're saying that, so we have to put all these measures into this resolution, so you'll actually take action over the maintenance that you're supposed to do?
Could I add?
Hold on, one at a time, everyone, please.
Could I add to that?
Yes.
I would be suggesting that Mr. Costa prepare a plan identifying in some detail what the buffer planting area is going to actually consist of and what the depth of the buffer will be. So there should be a plan filed with this board, and that you could either do that prior to your vote to see it, or you could make it a condition of approval. But I think it was incumbent upon them to do that.
Any objection, Mr. Rosenberg? And I'm sorry, you may not have heard that.
Yeah, I heard that Mr. Burgess would like us to do a buffer planting plan, so
We have no objection.
That's,
no objection.
There you go.
Mr. Mattson?
is that in our purview, or is that the Shade Tree Commission?
That is all.
That's what I was
We certainly can make it as a reasonable condition if the board was so inclined to grant the relief that they seek.
Okay.
As for the representative of First Student, so where do you currently, now that you said about a year ago, 2 years ago, you stopped doing fueling here at the facility, where do you go for fueling now?
I would ask John Berardi.
Yeah, we fuel outside at the local service station on Route 17, the Exxon station, so
So it's not very far from where you currently are.
it's not, but it's travel with the vehicle.
And then you had said that roughly
Can you
60...
please come up, because this is not going to create a wonderful record. I have no idea where this application is going, so, yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You want to share with me?
Yeah. So why don't you repeat what you said, where you are currently fueling?
So the vehicles are currently fueling at the local Exxon station, which causes the vehicles to run longer. We're living in a green world now, so we want to limit as much as we can the vehicles running.
So now, will this fueling station open it up to any other facilities that you might have in the area? Will other buses be coming in? Or do you have any other facilities nearby? That's my question.
We have several facilities, but the fueling at that location will be strictly for the vehicles on that property.
So, Mr. Rosenberg, that would
be a condition. Absolutely. Fueling will be restricted to this operation.
And how many buses again? 149?
That could be the total amount. Right now, we have 8.
So my question is, if it's roughly 60% diesel and 40% gas, why are you only looking to put a diesel tank? And why would it make any difference at all if you're already going to the gas station for the gas? Because those are more likely the ones that actually take like lower miles per gallon. So those are actually the gas guzzlers. So my question is, like, if you're doing...
Gas guzzler, I'm sorry.
So, all right, would you say that the gasoline-powered vehicles consume more fuel than the diesel?
They do.
So then, if you're already driving the gas vehicles off-site, why is it any different for you to drive the diesel vehicles off-site if that's already how you've been running the operation?
Well, because it's just a matter of more vehicles are running for an extended period of time. It's also an expense to the company. We have to pay the drivers to take vehicles.
So why is that, why is that our prerogative, though?
So let me understand this. It's an interesting question, by the way. So there are a certain percentage of buses that run diesel, a certain percent that run gasoline.
Yes.
You will continue to send the buses that have gasoline off-site, and you will simply use the tank for diesel.
Yes.
And I guess he is perplexed as to why, and you have repeated the testimony twice that it's saving, running. But I guess his hypothesis is, well, why don't you do 1,500 gas, 1,500 diesel? But I'm not putting.
Mr. Klein also wants to respond to that on the record.
And really, it's just a numbers thing. If it was reversed, we would be seeking a gasoline tank here. But we have more diesel vehicles at this site. That's why we have the AST going in as a diesel.
How many are diesel? How many are gas?
About 60%, or diesel.
47.
You have,
So it's 10% more.
Roughly.
do you have any data of like how much money this will be saving you by putting this gas tank here? I mean, if you're roughly going not even,
The board's not concerned with finances.
but that's what I'm saying, like, I'm just,
It's a legitimate question, but we don't care
Oh, you don't-
whether it costs them $1 million or 10 cents more. We can't. The
right,
law
so,
prohibits
well,
it.
for them, they want to do it because it's monetarily, but because for them it's monetarily, it affects us, whether it be environmentally or health, so financially it does affect us.
Would you prefer the tank above ground or in ground?
I would prefer no tank, actually, so that's.
Well,
No,
I don't
that
know.
is, that's.
There was a
that's-
tank
No,
there
no,
before.
but there's not now, right?
Yeah.
So I would prefer to keep it that way.
Well, answer my question if you could.
There's no reason to. Like I said, it sounds like to me, like, when you saying that, it sounds like you're already ready and willing to approve it. I just don't feel like that's right, so I don't think you should be asking me that question.
Well, I appreciate that, but you would be wrong.
So then why would you already ask me saying there's only two options?
Because it's a,
The third option is there's no tank at all, right?
we're not going to argue with this
No, but
gentleman. Yeah, we don't,
legitimately.
Yeah, no. Do you have any other questions for the experts?
Sure. So currently, there's no gate or any kind of security. I'm sorry, what is that?
I said that was rude, your last comment. Ask him a question.
Sir, it wasn't rude. I mean, you asked me a question saying would I prefer above ground or no ground. Right now, the third option is no ground, or no tank at all, right? I'm just.
I don't know that. Some court may say, you know what? They are entitled to have a tank either in the ground or above the ground because that was what they had for the last 30 years.
Okay, but are we currently in a courtroom?
We're going to move forward. And
Right, no,
ask
that's
the
what I'm saying.
experts the questions. Yes,
Okay,
thank
I'll
you.
keep going, but it's just,
Okay. I
I'm not
appreciate
being rude, it's just,
We have to
giving
move
me
forward,
two
though.
options.
Yes.
Sure. So security around the facility itself, anybody can just walk on. So what's stopping somebody from going and messing with the tank?
Well, the tank is secured.
By what?
I mean, what do you assume somebody would mess with the tank?
Well, I'm just asking a question. So like, a tank has a hose. So if somebody were to,
The tank is electrically operated. The electricity is shut off the tank at night.
okay, so
You can
in,
physically operate the fuel tank or the dispenser.
okay, so there's no way to vandalize the actual tank or to break or pierce anything that would cause a spill.
I mean, anything could happen, like somebody could go through the property.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Right now, it's unsecured. So right now, that could happen because the property is unsecured, right?
I guess potentially, yes.
Even if the property was secured, I mean, potentially it could happen anywhere, at any time.
That's correct.
But it's more for like our safety.
Right, but right. He asked a question. You guys answered it potentially. Let's go on to the next question.
How was that potentially? I'm sorry. How was that potentially answered?
He said that if potentially something could happen to pierce the tank at, in any myriad sense of how that tank could be disturbed.
Okay.
Potentially it could.
And what they're
potentially
saying
it
is
could.
they can't 100% guarantee nothing will ever happen to that tank.
But
Is that what
even
you're
if we
saying?
have
I'm not asking
complete
that.
fencing, security fencing, electrified
Right.
fencing, cameras and all that stuff, it still could possibly happen as well.
That is your answer.
Correct. But wouldn't you agree that the extra preventative measures would be better for the residents around as well as for their safety?
What measures?
I don't know, a gate that you can't come in and out for the bus lot, a gate around the tank. I'm just spitballing here. You guys are the experts.
Could you identify who you're speaking? We got so many.
Yes, sir. Kevin Underdown from Metro Environmental Services. The tank itself, I mean, there's not a locking gate around it, but there are Jersey barricades that can be placed around the tank. They're 4,000-pound, 10-foot-long concrete barricades that nobody can drive a vehicle through. You would destroy a vehicle trying to get through that. So that's just for puncturing or hitting the tank. That's a safety measure.
Yeah, that's all. Whatever safeties you may have. And then I guess my last question would be, regarding the, I guess, siren or some sort of monitoring system. It was brought up by, I think, one of the committee members regarding a 24-hour system. If something like that were instituted, and the leak did happen, I mean, how responsive would that be able to be? Like, you said there was an unsigned alarm. Like, we already wake up at 6 a.m. to blaring alarms from the buses and everything else. Do we really have to do that at 12 o'clock at midnight because somebody left I don't know, you said electronically operated, so how would it leak?
Well, again, if I can explain the construction of the tank. So the tank is.
But before you do that, though, wasn't there testimony that there will be no 24-hour monitoring system? Okay, next question.
Okay, you can explain the tank construction.
Okay, so it's a double-walled tank, which means there's a tank encased in another tank. There is an interstitial area between those two tanks. So the product is in the inner tank. If that tank springs a leak, the outer tank is there to hold it. The alarm is within the space between the two tanks. So if the tank sprung a leak, the alarm would sense that, and it would set the alarm, light, siren, bells. So that would happen before any product ever could come out of the tank. Both tanks are the same thickness.
And that's audible to everyone?
Audible to everybody.
So if it does leak in the middle of the night, there will be an audible.
Correct, but there would be an audible alarm, but it wouldn't be leaking on the ground.
Yes, I'm sorry. As you were finished, I wanted to ask you a question if you.
Sure, go ahead.
You said you're on Oak Street, correct?
Correct.
Is your property on that picture at all? Do you know if can you point that out for us? Can he look at that map or you have the addresses on the other one? Because the oil tank right now would be going closer to Central than Oak, but if he can point out his address or where he is located on that. And what is that address? Do we know?
36.
Okay, so it's over, okay, thank you. Thank you so much for pointing that out for me, appreciate it.
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Matson.
On the tank, is there a containment at all outside of the double?
No, it's not required.
There's no.
Special on that. It's not
required, it's a double tank.
Does the tank has an auto shut off or auto something to?
There's an auto,
Okay.
and then there's a leak detection.
Leak
One last question. What was the relevancy of my exact
Well, you
address?
were mentioning your tree and your effectiveness from the property. I wasn't sure how close you were to the actual placement of the possible tank from the conversation, you know.
Right,
you were
so
having.
that was more regarding
Yeah.
the maintenance of the grounds itself, because if I can see it from, my house, how the grounds are maintained.
Yes, I kind of just want to get your perspective of where you are on that map
Yeah,
there,
so I can show you the ring camera. I'll
that's
be able
fine.
to see it bright as
I
day.
just want to.
Sure, Mr. Matson.
Back to my point, I've worked on tanks before, and I've seen spills, and I know containments are like a godsend, and I know it's not required, but I know if I lived near there, I'd feel a lot more comfortable if there was a containment, and that's just my perspective.
So I don't know how your client feels about this extra containment that was just discussed.
The double wall tank itself is contained, so that's what makes it a secondary containment.
He's answering your question.
The double wall tank is secondarily contained, so that's what makes it a secondary containment.
So what would be another containment that was referred to?
Yeah, basically underneath it, there'd be like a design, this way, this tank would sit, and then around it would be like a waterproof curbing type, up to a certain height, and if anything spilled, it would stay in that container. Yeah, like a vessel. Well, there's, it's not the first containment that's ever been thought of or built outside.
Can you address that question? It's separate defined. Basically, you're gonna put a concrete curb around it.
Right.
You take the volume of the tank, in this case, 3,000 gallons, 7.48 gallons per cubic foot. You figure out how much air you need, the depth. You pitch it slightly. You put a valve in the corner. This way, when it rains, you gotta make sure you open the valve so the water goes out. When they're fueling, when they're doing, you close the valve.
Yes,
It's that simple.
yes.
If you want to put a little freeboard, because it doesn't rain in New Jersey, as we all know, I figure you need a couple more inches of freeboard, just in case. That if it rains overnight, when there's no one there, the valve is closed, it still has enough room, that in the event you have a catastrophe.
Mayor wants to know what freeboard is.
Basically, from the top of the curb to the bottom of the volume. So if you need 3,000 gallons, add another few inches for the rainfall that would go in that surface area. So.
Concrete?
Yeah, concrete, just a higher curve, that's it. 2-inch storm, 3-inch storm, 100-year storm, 3-inch, give or take. Irene, 7 inches.
Bill Chwinski. My question is, this tank's gonna be set on a concrete pad to begin with, right? So you'll put a curb around and contain it, and it's not a big. But then that also allows for possible spills if you do open the valve and there's leakage within the system and you open the valve. We try to steer clear of third containment such as that, just due to that reason.
Explain your reason, I'm sorry.
Because if it rains and potentially there is a minor leak and we don't notice the sheen on the water and we release that because it's rainwater in there, that is a potential.
So they don't make like a type of, so you're gonna have a valve to empty the water out. They don't make a bag that you could put on that the water would come out and it would absorb any oil to let the water run through it?
Separated.
Yeah.
To maintain it, yes. The answer is.
Oh, okay.
Wait a second, if there was a leak, sir, the audible alarm would go off.
You're correct.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
But there are so many situations that we've been through at so many different locations.
I have a scenario.
Okay.
You fill the tank, and there's an ancillary amount of diesel that gets spilled in the